Never give in. Never give in. Never, never, never. In nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force. Never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network. OutlawRadioNetwork.com.
This country can't be knocked out with one punch. We get right back up again, and when we do, the world's going to hear the roar of our engines.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
You do your work, and we will do our best.
Republic. I like the sentiment of it. It means people can live free, talk free, go or come by or sell, be drunk or sober, however they choose.
Are you ready to be who you are?
No poetry, just a straight answer.
The government has deliberately sought to deceive the United States by false statements and expressions of hope for continued peace.
We are men of the hood, Mary, now you're explaining.
But there's no both sides anymore. They're just trying to wreck our goddamn country. It's time for you younger guys to take over it.
You meant to be here tonight. This is your time. Their time is done. It's over. Screw them. This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
If you guys don't start thinking as men, we're gonna have a lousy country.
For the crimes of incitement to cause unrest, I declare to be an outlaw.
All right, it's the Outlaw Radio Network. It is the 9th of June, 2024. First of all, most importantly, happy birthday to my son who turns 32 years old today, Michael. I love you. You're not listening to the show, but I'll tell you happy birthday anyway because I love you and I'm your dad and I'm obligated to do so.
It's wonderful to hear that Michael has survived to 32.
Yeah.
I had my doubts.
Yeah, well, who his dad is.
About 10 years ago.
Yeah. K-Dog, St. Paul, Black Tom, Lori, the CEO, is off camera as normal. Bob Ross running the boards. DJ D is here as well. All of you are aware we have a big guest coming up. We're going to bring him on in just a moment. I've got two things of housekeeping I have to take care of first. First, yesterday, Outlaw Radio Network had the opportunity to be part of the Relay for Life for Pierce County, I think is the official name. It was down at Mount Tahoma High School. We had a great turnout, great fundraising effort. It was a great day. Outlaw Radio was either 4th or 5th in the fundraising teams. So thanks to all of you guys for being a part of that.
Yeah, it was the 40th anniversary.
40th anniversary. Yeah, and it was great to be there.
It started there in Tacoma.
Yeah. Second year in a row that I've been able to be there and be a part of it. On a personal level, my son, who today turns 32, he had cancer when he was 5. He had Hodgkin's lymphoma. Through cancer research and all that, he was able to overcome and he has survived to this day and has a clean bill of health. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
My sister Leanna was not so lucky. She contracted a really aggressive form of brain cancer, and she's gone. And I think about her all the time and love and miss her. So it's conflicting, but it's proof that the money that's raised goes to good places and does really good things. So again, thanks to the Relay for having us out there. If you still want to donate, go to ACS's website. You can still make donations to it. Any funds that are donated are still going to count towards our totals if that's important to you. Most importantly, just give money where you can. It's a really important cause. We were really honored and thankful to be a part of it. Now, in a moment, we're going to bring our guest on, and I want to clear some stuff up here for the listeners. We have a lot of respect for Semi, and we're honored that he's going to give us his time and come here to talk about some topics that are not easy stuff to talk about, right? We're going to ask him some tough questions. He's going to give us answers because he's answered us on everything that we've asked him before, and he's been really upfront about answering those. But I want to make some things really clear to the listening audience. I have heard and absorbed a lot of interviews that Semi has endured. And I'm just going to make it clear this is not going to be one of those interviews. We're going to have an honest conversation with Semi. We're going to ask him some questions. He's going to respond. We don't have an agenda in this. We don't have a goal. We don't have an end game. We may ask clarifying questions, but we're not going to ragdoll him. If you're coming to hear this interview with the hopes that somehow we push somebody's agenda, that's not what we do, and it's never what we've done. So out of respect for Semi, out of respect for his opponent, out of respect for the voters in the state of Washington, this is our opportunity to get some solid answers from Semi, and not in like a 5-minute soundbite that other radio hosts have cornered him into. And I'm not going to mention any names, Jason Rance. I'm just not going to do it. But I'm going to say we're going to spend an hour with Semi, and we're going to cover all the ground and give him plenty of room to breathe and explain and for us to ask questions. Out of respect for that and the amount of vitriol and anger and hatred that's out there on both sides of this discussion, we're not taking phone calls because I don't trust you guys. I'm being honest. I just don't trust some of you.
It was part of the discussion. Listen, and we've discussed this a lot on air. For those that have listened, you guys, please understand and accept our position on this. We don't believe in our hearts and souls of souls that the right and appropriate way to conduct this kind of stuff in this country today is, well, the way we've all been doing it in this country today.
Yeah.
There's way too much vitriol. There's way too much hatred. There's way too much of things going on that are counterproductive to the people of this state and of this country making decisions that are best for them.
Yep. So I will tell you this. If you have a question, you can put it in the chat. If we believe it's a valid question, we'll ask it. That's out of respect for Semi. It wouldn't be fair for you guys to be posting questions to Semi that don't go to Semi. If I think they're mean-spirited or if I think they're insightful or inflammatory, I'm not going to ask them. Right? That's not what we do. Lastly, we will open phone lines at 9 p.m. So if you get through this whole discussion in the interview and you want to discuss it, we'll open the phone lines at 9. And if Semi wants to tune in or stay on board or whatever, that's totally up to him. We're going to give him the option, but we'll give you guys open phone lines at 9 to discuss. With all of that in mind, we go to wherever he is. I know he is traveling. I know he's out and about. He's doing campaign stuff. He is the Republican nominee for governor per the party endorsement. It is the one and only Mr. Semi Bird. Semi Bird, man, first, Before we get into all the tough stuff, man, congratulations on the endorsement from the party at the state convention.
Well, thank you. Thanks, everybody. It's good to be back with you. I appreciate the invitation. I'm looking forward to our hour together. But no, it was that's a congratulations for all those delegates that showed up, for we the people of Washington State. And so many people counted us out, right? You know that. Yep. So many people counted us out, said, doesn't stand a chance. No way in heck can he actually get there and make it happen. And it really wasn't me. It was we the people made it happen. And those delegates, the largest delegation in their history of Washington State Republican Party conventions, we did it. And I'm honored. I'm honored to share it with all those folks. And we're going to keep moving forward. And no matter what happens, we're good. We're good. We're going to surprise people. We're going to continue to surprise people. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's well deserved. You had something like 72% or something like that, didn't you?
Right on the money, 72%. It didn't start off as smoothly as you would think it would, but it was beautiful. And you guys would be proud. It was a demonstration of this constitutional republic. When people stand up, they recognize when something's not right. They respectfully let their voices be heard. And then using Robert's Rules of Order and good, I would say really good leadership by Chairman Walsh. I mean, parliamentary expertise, we got it done, and it was a beautiful thing to witness.
Yeah, you've been very complimentary of how he handled that weekend, and it says a lot about the class and character that was on display that weekend. So, again, congratulations.
So what I want to do, Semi, is obviously there's a lot of accusations, things that have been said about you. We want to give you a chance to address all of that. I want to give you all open space. I'm not going to put a timer or a clock on you. We're going to run that. We're going to take a break later. When we come out of the break, though, I don't want to spend this whole interview talking about the accusations. I think it buries the message of what you're running about, who you want to be as a candidate, what you want to do as governor. So once we get through that, we are going to spend some time talking about your platform, your vision for the state of Washington, and your and your hopes as a governor, what you want to achieve. Is that meet a good goal for you as well?
Sounds beautiful.
I will also tell the listeners before we ask, there were no ground rules set before this interview, which I really respect about Semi. Some other politicians have asked us for lists of what we're going to ask, or said, I don't want to talk about this, or I don't want to go there, or we're not going to. Semi didn't do any of that. I didn't even talk with Semi before the interview. I went through one of his campaign staff. We set up the interview, but there were no lists requested. There was nothing off limits. And Semi, a lot of respect to you for that, because a lot of politicians wouldn't do that in today's world. So thank you.
So true.
Let's start with the glaring one, the one that everybody's talking about. Accusations about what's referred to as stolen valor. Which is, for the listeners who aren't fully aware, it's basically an accusation that is somebody is wearing medals or claiming service or periods of service or service in action that isn't valid, that they didn't actually partake in. Now, this has made it cycle all the way through. There were some documents that were released that I know that you have said were supposed to be restricted and not released. I'm not going to go too much more into that, Semi. I want you to explain to us from your perspective what the stolen valor is all about, what you've been accused of, and what is right and what's not, what's true and what isn't.
Yeah, no. And you guys jump in anytime. So you can, and you know that. You can ask me anything and get what you need out of it. I don't hide from questions, because the truth is the truth. This was the most despicable thing that I could have ever witnessed or have ever seen in my entire life. I'm a 63-year-old man. Coming into Memorial Day weekend, you get a call from what I would have thought would have been a reporter or a news person, but obviously not, or just anyone. Humility, civility, humanity wasn't there. But let's just get to it. Stolen valor. I have 2 medals of valor. The Bronze Star of Valor, which is, there it is on the wall.
It's a big deal.
And if you read it, if you've seen it, you're talking about valorous action in combat, and then the Purple Heart. So those are the 2 medals of valor that I have. The only 2 medals of valor that I have, and you don't give those away. You can put anything you want to put on anything, and you can go out there and try to get a free coffee. But imagine accusing someone in combat who was put in for those medals. One, the Purple Heart you get when you go to a hospital or a clinic and you're treated for wounds you receive in combat. So there's no choice in that. It doesn't come from anybody. It's automatic after you've been treated. And that's how the Purple Heart goes. They have orders. Every one of these awards has an order that goes to it. For me, I was a Special Forces Green Beret. In combat, Iraq, Afghanistan, those are regulated by Special Operations Command Central. And so that's the final approving person or organization. But a Bronze Star of Valor, it has to go through multiple layers of approval, multiple layers, which means whoever puts this person, or in my case, me in for the award, it goes through a whole host of individuals, senior officers, all the way up to the Special Forces Group Commander. And in my case, it was the commander of Special Operations in Iraq. SEALs, Green Berets, all of us. Every single one of them in their own hand, after doing their due diligence, they write a statement based on their observations and their due diligence. And then they sign in their own hand, they date it, and they can approve, they can disapprove, they can upgrade, they can downgrade. That is their rigor. Every single one of them in their own hand wrote what they thought about me getting that award, which I did not know I was going to receive it until it happened. And they approved it. And that's how that went. And then on the Jason Rantz show, apparently, I didn't watch it. I didn't even look at it. I heard, I've been briefed on it. I'm never going to look at it. But what I heard was disgusting. And so they said that anonymous Green Berets came forward and challenged that I was either there or even got out of the vehicle. One person said, it was me who shot the RPG nest. It was me who interdicted that target. And I'm trying to figure all this out because it doesn't make any sense. So let's get to it. Number one, the medals are valid, clearly. You guys can have as much paperwork as you can. I put it on our Facebook page and we'll send it to you so you guys have it. But for someone to say, we're not sure if you even got out of the vehicle. Well, there were 2 Green Berets in our vehicle, myself and a major. The major that was there is the deputy operations officer for all Special Forces action in Baghdad. He was an observer for the night. I was assigned to a tactical psychological operations unit as a Special Forces IO advisor, intelligence operations, information operations advisor to psychological operations. So that was our little family. He was a ride along. I didn't know this major. So people had said, Semi Bird went to this major, staff sergeant. Semi Bird went to a major who he didn't even know, I didn't even know, and somehow negotiated a deal with a major that I didn't even know. And let me add this to it. From another unit. This wasn't my unit. He is not part of my unit. I was not part of his unit. And then ask him to put me into one of the highest medals of valor that you can get in the military. I don't think that would make sense to anyone. But that is something that Jason Rantz didn't say. That's something that these anonymous Green Berets didn't say. But those are the facts of the matter. And his chain of command was the ones who approved the medal. So those are the medals of valor. And I would pause for any questions you guys have regarding my Bronze Star Valor and my Purple Heart.
As someone who served 10 years myself, I completely can understand what you are saying, right? Just the whole picture without having been there, without having read some of the stuff that we'll get into in a bit. In fact, the letter that came through on your behalf that was written. I think it might be hard, though, for people that may be either questioning or buying into the mantra that's being put forth by whoever. I'm not even going to say it's the Riker campaign because I don't know that, right? But if they don't know you, they don't know how the system works, right? They probably have a real jumbled idea of what's going on, and now the waters have been muddied for them. Are you able to go into a little bit of detail about what happened that day and maybe help clarify some of these questions for them?
Yeah. And so, you have vehicles in, let's just say, a convoy, but ours, this is a hit. So this is a high value target hit. We're talking the deck of cards. This is the mission. And our little team, our vehicle, we're vehicle 4. So we're the last vehicle. in our position. When you go in ahead, vehicles don't huddle together like little koala bears or gummy bears stuck in a bag. We are spread out in a tactical formation with plenty of distance, so you don't take out an entire team or convoy with one large detonation. Right. So we're spread out. And then we take our positions, and our job was just simply to pull security on an intersection that was not intended to be hit at all, because our job is afterwards. And I'll leave that for people who want to declassify information about what I did or what we do. But we did get hit. And we were dismounted, by the way. This is a firefight. We were taking fire before we even got to the objective as soon as we entered the neighborhood. Rocket-propelled grenades were being fought. And keep in mind, this is 2006. I have not looked at these documents until this came forward. And I didn't study them. I was there. But for someone who says, I was the one who interdicted the target, how could they, if they're in a completely different position on an objective in the middle of a firefight? Because Green Berets don't shoot across each other. We don't shoot at each other. Everybody has their trajectory of fire. I think even a basic infantryman or woman nowadays who knows that we don't do that. And there's only 2 Green Berets at my position, myself and this major. How could they know, and how could they shoot something which this major says, and I say that I shot? And these are individuals. So it doesn't hold water. So rocket-propelled grenades being fired, one impacted right in front of me. Blast, I'm down, I stay down, continue to interdict until the target was neutralized. That's it. And then we're leaving the objective. That we get the call, we're wearing Peltors, mic'd up, we get the call. Target apprehended, took longer than expected. We're in the vehicle, and we're driving. And we're the last vehicle, as I said. We take a left going up a small street. We get hit in the right rear tire. And again, we're limping badly. We call it in. That's what you do. Let everybody know. And everyone knows that we go through the kill zone. You don't stop, pull security, change a flat, or do anything else. But we got through the kill zone. As soon as we cleared the kill zone, we already know, because we train in this, we have straps on the front of the vehicle. So I made the call. We dismount. We strap up. We all pull security, all of us. We remount up, and we drive back because we're getting pulled back. So for, again, this report, supposedly, they conflated the firefight on the objective and then the change out because we died in the street, the vehicle did, and then we get back to base. So many spins, so many not true and doesn't make any sense garbage by these anonymous individuals. That's pretty much in a nutshell. And then this major puts me in for an award that goes through his chain of command. Again, not my unit. And I get notified. Okay, great. This is 2024. And this article comes out. So that's that event from 2006. But as you said, look at the article. Now they're talking about something from 2009. They're talking about documents that were illegally accessed, illegally pulled, and illegally distributed, violating my privacy. And when you're ready, we'll go to that portion as well. But these are 2 separate incidents that are conflated to make it seem like it's the same thing and it's all mixed together. Because you're right, my brother. People don't know the acronyms military uses. They don't know how we operate. And I've gone through this over and over and over again. Even my supporters are going, who support me, and they know it's garbage. They're saying, Simi, civilians don't know. And this was the intention of Jason Rance and all of them who are clearly supporting Dave Reichert. So I'm not in Dave Reichert's heart. I'm not in his campaign. But we've seen enough. And it started at the convention, but it started before the convention. You'll never hear me call Dave Reichert a name, ever, because that's not my style.
Now, Semi, push back. I did hear you refer to him as a gentleman.
And now, granted, I'm being respectful and courteous. I've always told people I tell the truth. Okay, I'm twisting it there, but you get it. The man's called me a liar, a thief, a con man, the media. has told me that. How do you respond to Dave Reichert calling you a snake oil salesman and a con man? And I'm like, well, I've always called him a gentleman. I think I'll stay with that because we have other things to do. We should be running a campaign, competing. And the last time I checked, we both have an R behind our label. We both identify as Republicans. And Ronald Reagan, apparently everybody forgot President Ronald Reagan, who had an 11th commandment who says Republicans should not go after Republicans.
Fair enough. Semi, I'm gonna ask you to pause right there. We're gonna take a quick break. We come back, we're gonna talk about a letter that came out exonerating you and then ask some questions about some conflicting evidence. So hold on, stick around. Semi Bird, Republican candidate for governor. We're back after this on Outlaw. Admin a la carte are specialized local experts committed to helping you run your small business. From general admin and sales support to marketing, digital media and technology to real estate and compliance, Admin a la carte's only goal is to take your business to the next level. Find out how Admin a la carte can elevate your business. Visit admin-alacarte.com for more information. That's admin-alacarte.com. Admin a la carte. Your business doesn't fit into a box. Why should you have to?
Hey, it's K-Dog with the Outlaw Radio Network. We are everywhere. You can follow us on all your favorite social media channels, including Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Vimeo, and more. And if you want to follow me personally, hop on your Twitter and just search for K-Dog the Outlaw. And don't forget our really cool website, outlawradionetwork.com, full of all the cool merch you've been looking for. Outlaw Radio Network. Are you an outlaw yet?
Are you ready to elevate your spirits? Look no further than Black Rain Spirits, your local craft distillery nestled in Town Square Mall. Indulge in the smooth richness of our handcrafted spirits, meticulously distilled to perfection. Whether you prefer the bold kick of our bourbon or the subtle sophistication of our gin, Black Rain Spirits has something for every palate. Visit us today at Town Square Mall and experience the essence of true craftsmanship. Black Rain Spirits, where passion meets perfection, unconventionally traditional.
Hi, I'm Michael from McLeod's Grill House. When was the last time you had the perfect steak, award-winning prime rib, or an awesome handcrafted hamburger? McLeod's Grill House is the #1 steakhouse in Kitsap County. In fact, we have won the West Sound Home and Garden's Best Steak and Prime Rib Award in 2015, 2017, 2018, 2019, and we finished a close second in 2016. Look out, 2020. Are you looking for something to do? Find us on Facebook or online at mcleodsgrowhouse.com to stay up to date on all things McLeod's.
This is the Outlaw Radio Network.
All right, Outlaw Radio, thanks for again for checking out the show. We appreciate you. We are joined by Republican Semi Bird, candidate for governor. He's been endorsed through the convention for the Washington State Republican Party. Obviously, voters will have their say as we get through the primary season and all of that. But Semi Bird joins us. Semi, where are you, by the way?
I'm home. I just got home a couple hours ago from the west side. We spent a couple days in Grays Harbor County. I think we did about 6 events, maybe, well, I'm lost, but multiple, 2 days worth and 2 a days. And I think we had 3 in the last day, so 5 events. And then we went over to Pierce County and we did events there. And then we just got home to Richland, Washington.
Oh, very nice.
Well, I know that when we tried to set up the interview to begin with, your staffer replied back and said, "Can we do a different day?" He's got a lot of travel in that day, and I said, "Well, Sunday's our big day. We only do the show a couple days a week." And they said, "Okay, we'll make it work." And you're here, even though you've traveled all over God and creation. So thanks for doing that, Semi.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you guys the way you set it up, the way you did it, and you know me, I'm not afraid to take questions, and so, but I get it. You guys went out of your way just to make sure we get the time to get into the weeds if needed, to bring out the truth or whatever you guys want to do. I'm good with it. So I appreciate y'all.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you. I appreciate it.
It is so important for us. Sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, go ahead.
It is important for us in every fiber of our bones to make sure that, the citizens that live here in Washington State get to know the candidates as well as they can, so they can always make informed decisions. It's a big part of what seems to be missing out of our system, and as we've heard before, civility. So appreciate you for maintaining that civility. It says a lot.
I want to get into some questions about what I call conflicting evidence, right? And I want to start with information that was released. At least we got it today, which is a response from a major general in regards to the accusations that have been made against you. And then I want to ask you after that just about the confliction, right? Because there's other documents out there that seem to say the opposite. So I want to give you a chance to kind of get both angles of this. And Paul, I'm going to have you read this. This is from
Did you say Major General?
Well, isn't he a major?
So see,
that's what this says here, though. This says Major General. So we have help us out. Is Stephen Saunders? Is he a major or Major General?
Oh, that's
he's command
no.
sergeant.
That's my command sergeant major. For my last unit. So yeah, so that was my boss. He's in charge. Well, he's the most senior enlisted, senior non-commissioned officer. Every single non-commissioned officer in our unit falls under him. All of our enlisted senior, he's the boss.
Top dog.
I wasn't Army. I was Navy. So all of your guys' cool titles don't mean anything to me.
You're good.
I keep telling him we won't hold that against him. So
well, there is a Major General because Sean Swindell, who signed my Bronze Star Valor and said nice words, he was a lieutenant colonel and he became a Major General. And Colonel Tovo, the group commander who signed off on that award, he became a lieutenant general. So a 3-star and a 2-star. So I got you.
They carry some weight.
That
so
makes sense. Right.
I'm going to take a moment, Semi. I'm going to read this letter that he wrote on your behalf. The recent attacks against Semi's character and service record are grievous and false. I have personal and professional knowledge of the restricted file that has been recently reported on in the media. An inquiry was conducted and all allegations were concluded as unfounded. This file was restricted as a protection for Semi against future harassment from those who originally attempted to discredit him and to ensure that his military career would not be hindered or his reputation tarnished. Semi continued to serve with distinction in positions and on assignments impacting national defense strategy for an additional 7 years after these allegations were addressed, and he retired honorably. The release of this information was illegal, unauthorized, and appears to have been shared in a partial and deceptive way by those who originally attempted to discredit Semi, despite being ordered to stop slandering a combat-decorated Green Beret with false allegations. Few things are as hurtful and harmful to our veterans as false accusations about their service, and politics is no excuse for such egregious behavior. Signed, Stephen Saunders, Command Sergeant Major, Retired Special Operations Detachment, Pacific Green Beret.
So that seems relatively clear, right, Semi? I mean, that comes from your commanding officer and basically says any arguments or accusations about his service at that time is unfounded and incorrect.
So that's my Command Sergeant Major. We have more letters, I hope, coming in. I saw today another operator wrote something on social media and it was sent to me. And I believe I know who it is only because the mission he referred to is a classified thing. And when you say you go to a country with only an ID to identify you, so they're coming out. So this is my Command Sergeant Major. He knew the whole thing. He had complete and total access. He knew everything because that's his job. He's in charge of me and anyone else. Anything that would have to do with me, whether it was any kind of a discipline, and this was not. So I get it. People read this document that was put out there, and you have to ask, why was it restricted? Well, at the top of this damning document, if you would, it says Army Regulation 600-37. And in that regulation, I think it's G or something, it says the only way you can take a reprimand and put it into a restricted file or unfavorable document to a restricted file is if it's found to be unjust or untrue in part or in whole. And let me just say this, the whole thing was an attack. But then you also see, and you guys are probably going to ask me, well, you had a response. And that response is saying, you take full responsibility. You did this, this, and this.
That's exactly where we're going to go, Semi. Yep.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that. But no, my Command Sergeant Major knew the whole deal. My commander knew it. The Lieutenant Colonel, and I'm going to wait till you get there, but the Lieutenant Colonel who initiated the root of this, and not a blame. again, that's one thing the general made sure I understood. And that was my response, is that I understand this is not the Marine Corps. There's no sir, yes, sir. It's if you see something that is not appropriate or right, then you say no, no matter what their rank is. And that is a lesson that I learned. And that's what that document was about, learning a lesson. Within 30 days after that document, the Haiti earthquake happened. Within 30 days, I think it was like January 10th. And the general made me the special operations liaison to General King, Major General King, who led Operation Unified Response to Haiti. I was our special operations liaison to Southern Command. That was the level of understanding and respect. This was not meant to ruin me, ruin my life, or shame my service to my country. I fought for and was willing to die for my country. And a reporter, these politicians, these pundits, because politics, they say, is a blood sport. Well, there are veterans out there who know a blood sport because they die for the country. On a Memorial Day when Mr. Rance, I'm not sure what branch Mr. Rance served in. I'm not sure what branch Brandy Cruz or Ari Hoffman served in, or John Carlson served in. If they did, well, I thank them for their service. But to shame a combat veteran without an opportunity, not an ambush, but an opportunity, it's wrong. What they accused me of, to me, it's the equivalent of a sexual assault or inappropriately touching a child. It's disgusting. But they did it with no regard because this is politics. And we won the convention, 72% supermajority, which means they know they can see the writing on the wall. But what was done? I have a daughter in the National Guard. I have grandchildren, my oldest daughter, and I have a 17-year-old in high school. My service to my country is my legacy to my children. Every male in my family has served in the military throughout history, as far as I can remember, back to my grandfather. Back when you could only get so high in a rank and he was a steward to a captain on a Navy ship. This was wrong. We must do better. And I appreciate you giving me the time to share my feelings and my thoughts on this. I had to take a stand on this.
Yeah. So what I want to do, and I know we're right up against break, right, Dennis? We're coming up right on break. We got 5 minutes. Oh, okay. So let's get into this now then. So you mentioned about the response, your response, and I'm going to read just one part of this, and I want you to put it into perspective for us, because this is being used as justification. Well, he's lying now, because we got this document that says he admitted to it. So I'm going to read you part number 2, which is the shortest, but I think it gives us a clear indication of the overall gist of what the response is. Mm-hmm. It says, my actions took advantage of the senior NCOs and officers in my chain of command by requesting their support and then betraying their trust. My chain of command entrusted me as a senior NCO to take charge of my career by preparing my WO packet, warrant officer packet, in accordance with regulations and the professional standards of the NCO Corps, which I failed to do. So the argument is being made, well, look, he's admitting to it all, right, in this response. And you can go online and read the whole response if you want to. What you've said to us is the accusations have no merit. Where does the response come in then? How?
Yes.
Does the response have any truth to it, or give us some background?
Yeah. So here's the background, and that's what needs to make sense. And so before we deployed, we are a higher headquarters element. We in ourselves are all senior. We're all senior operators and officers with specialties. We're a command unit that can deploy anywhere in the world for a combined special operations joint task force. We deployed forward to another command to support them. We did. Just prior to that, command leadership. There's a warrant officer slide in our unit. They felt I was highly capable. They felt I was highly qualified, the most qualified, and they all rallied around, initiated a warrant officer application packet, supported it, got all the signatures, all the support for it, and together we made it happen. And then we moved forward as this was happening, all the signatures of endorsement, et cetera, et cetera. The general, when this attack was brought to me, it was made forward. This individual said, well, Semi Bird has been not wearing, but he was told that I had medals or awards or ribbons that I did not earn. And he brought that as an accusation. And he also brought the warrant officer application as an accusation. Those are the two accusations. And in the reprimand that says this is an administrative measure, not punishment, under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, clearly. But he went from the accusations that were made to what he found. I have found, and he talks about the warrant officer packet. We had a conversation, the general and I, and he said, you think you're being noble by not talking about your senior officers who initiated, who supported this entire thing. He says, but they've already come and told me everything. He says, you are responsible. You're a senior non-commissioned officer, and we as senior officers need to rely on you to tell us no and to do the right thing, to hold us accountable if we shift, and to say no. You don't have a Marine Corps, sir, yes, sir mindset. A lot of enlisted do. But this is Special Forces, and he is a Special Forces general.
All right, Semi, hold on. We got another hard break coming up. I'm going to come back. I want to get some more clarification of this. We're going to keep this going. So stick around. More with Semi Bird, Republican candidate for governor for the state of Washington. Stick around. This is Outlaw Radio Network.
Hey, it's K-Dog. Don't forget to check out the brand new OutlawRadioNetwork.com. Not only can you watch our live shows every time they happen, you can catch an archive of all of our old shows as well. On top of that, the coolest gear around is out. Outlaw Radio merch, available right now with some cool stuff and cool stuff coming. Check us out, OutlawRadioNetwork.com. Are you an outlaw yet? Visit OutlawRadioNetwork.com and find out.
Whether you're starting a business or already have one, express yourself with Tiny Mushroom Sign Shop. Signage-based company providing services such as vinyl decals, business cards, graphic design, banners, flyers, and more. So whatever your needs are, come visit our professionals at Tiny Mushroom Sign Shop at 605 North Callow in Bremerton. To set up an appointment and to see how Tiny Mushroom Sign Shop can help you, call us at 360-479-9090. Express yourself with Tiny Mushroom Sign Shop.
Are you ready to elevate your spirits? Look no further than Black Rain Spirits, your local craft distillery nestled in Town Square Mall. Indulge in the smooth richness of our handcrafted spirits, meticulously distilled to perfection. Whether you prefer the bold kick of our bourbon or the subtle sophistication of our gin, Black Rain Spirits has something for every palate. Visit us today at Town Square Mall and experience the essence of true craftsmanship. Black Rain Spirits, where passion meets perfection, unconventionally traditional. On a recent episode of the Outlaw Radio Network,
some of our listeners even appreciated you dumbing it down for them. So, on behalf
sometimes
of
I have to mansplain for people like. By the way, mansplaining is when men explain things to a woman in a condescending tone. I just mansplaining.
Outlaw Radio Network, Sundays from 8 to 11, Wednesdays from 7 to 9, only on Megatalk.
This is the Outlaw Radio Network.
By the way, I want to announce that mansplaining promo was not endorsed by Semi, just so we're clear. Semi, I'm going to ask you a question on the spot because we don't have like a bat channel to talk during break. Are you willing to stick around a little bit past 9 after the news? Just because we've still got some questions to clarify with this, and I never got to ask you about your platform, your candidacy, any of that. And I just feel like if you can give us a little more time, or if it's too late, we can schedule you for a different time.
No, guys, I will. We have to get through this, and we have to do business, and this is the people's business. And so, yeah, let's get her done.
Okay.
My daughter's out of school, so I'll see her in the morning when she wakes up.
Okay.
There you go.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Okay. I want to clarify, though, the reprimand that you or the response you gave to the reprimand, because I missed it. So what were you acknowledging that you had done incorrectly or inappropriately? What were you acknowledging and taking responsibility for?
Yeah, the warrant officer application, the packet. And so if you guys have ever, and we have, it sounds like one of our brothers in the show is former military. And so in the military and in civilian life, if anybody's ever been given an evaluation that says, hey, fill out your evaluation, give it to me, I'll sign it. If anybody's ever done that, technically that's fraud, because your commander, your supervisor didn't do it, you did it. This is the same thing that the general wanted to make sure that I understood. This is on your behalf. You are applying for a warrant officer application. It's for you. It's not for lieutenant colonels or chief warrant officer fives or any of them. It's for you. So you would be the person who would benefit from this, whether it was their idea or your idea. It doesn't matter. It would benefit you. And so you needed to say no. You needed to say no. And it didn't happen. And so when you leave my office, you're going to have 7 days to bring forward any information you want to bring forward to share. But I need to read. I need to know that you understand what I'm talking about, that you understand the gravity of what I'm talking about. He wanted to make sure that I would be a good senior NCO, not senior non-commissioned officer in the future.
So let me interrupt really quick. I just want to put this in layman's terms, right? So the issue at hand, and I just want to make sure we're clear. The issue at hand is that when you were given the packet and there was a recommendation required from a senior officer, command master, sergeant, whomever, that should have gone to them to complete. And instead they asked you to complete it. They reviewed it and signed it. And that was how the packet, is that correct? Yeah, it was mutually done. The right. Point being is whether a lieutenant colonel says, hey, we're going to get Bert in this, get me this, get me that, find out what we need to qualify him. Let's get some letters of recommendation. Let's get these evaluations hammered out and let's get it done. It does not matter because it was done on my behalf. And the general said, I should have said no from the very beginning. Right. I should have said no because it was for my benefit. But let me say this so it's clear for everybody to understand. And people in the military should know this. Electronic signatures for evaluations, they're done, and it can only be done with what we call a CAC card, CAC. Yep. Right? Charles Alpha Charles. You have to have a personal identification card with a chip in it. So if there's a non-commissioned officer, in my case, a senior non-commissioned officer evaluation, and there's signatures of 3 lieutenant colonels on there, those have to be done by them. I cannot forge their signatures. I cannot make it up. I cannot write their stuff. It has to come from them. But it didn't matter. I accepted. Right. And that is where I was wrong. And it all fell on me. At first, I was just going to take the hit. And I told him, but he had already knew. He just needed to make sure that I was going to take full responsibility for everything and ensure that I learned the lesson. No matter who tells me what, know what's right, take the difficult right over the easy wrong. That's what a senior non-commissioned officer does. Hard lesson to learn. I took the hit. And because of that, he said, we're going to put this in your file. And that's it. It's the end of things. And my command knew that. And when we returned back to home station, it never affected my career at all. As a matter of fact, my last major assignment, as I can recall, was in a lieutenant colonel slot in an embassy serving on behalf of my unit. So just to be clear though, Semi, I want to point this in just a really black and white question. So the issue with the reprimand that you accepted responsibility for, did it in any way have anything to do with stolen valor, wearing incorrect medals, claiming incorrect service, incorrect combat? Was it about any of those things, which is what they've attributed it to?
Yes. Yes, they did. And no, it did not. I'll say again, no, it did not. And let me go a little step further. On that restricted file, you have a reprimand. And the next document down from the general's comments is what he referred to on paragraph 1 of his reprimand, which was a DA Form 2-1, where it said something like signed or entered, because that was the allegation. I fraudulently signed my own personnel records and entered information in my own personnel records, and they were wrong and contained stolen valor information. Not at all, because that 2-1 form that the general referred to in paragraph 1, it's attached to the restricted file. It's attached to the reprimand file. I'm hoping I set that easy enough for civilians to process as evidence. The medals, awards, badges, and that personnel file are 100% accurate. And that file was from March of 2008. A year and a half, I believe. Well, no, the date was solid, March of 2008. I'm just trying to get the months. December was when the reprimand happened. I hope I'm making sense. No. And the Bronze Star Valor, the Purple Heart from 2006, that was rock solid. There's no discussion on that, but that's why they put it all together. And now everybody keeps saying, not everybody, these individuals who are supporting Dave Reichert, put it all together in this hit piece. And then they brought that document and said he admitted it. He admitted it. But when you look at it, all we're talking about is warrant officer packet. That was the whole thing. And not to mention, I do have the documents with every single recommendation and endorsement from every single one of those very senior officers, their own words, their own writing, their own signatures. I cannot forge, well, I could forge that, but I did not. So not blaming, not shifting blame. I take full responsibility. I did, and I meant every word I said. That was the lesson that General Bagan taught me, and I honored his lesson. Mm-hmm. And I have never, ever said yes to anything that I knew was not the right thing to do. And my unit, you guys, we should have sent you my last medal, which is a meritorious service medal. And if you read what my unit said about me, my commanders, talking about integrity as a senior intelligence non-commissioned officer, how I was trusted and respected. That's a big contradiction to what they're painting me as, this disgraced, fake, whatever they're trying to paint me as. It's disgusting. So no, brother, thank you for the clarification. I'll say again, in my words, my statement had nothing to do with admitting to any kind of a stolen valor whatsoever, because it's not. I have documentation for anything and everything that I have ever said that I have.
Has that all been released, Semi? Has all that documentation been released? Has that been made public?
Yeah, there's a lot of it already out there, because we've had very strong supporters and people who ask me, and I just sent it to them, and then they put it out. So it's already out there. The Bronze Star Valor, the Purple Heart, we put that out on our Facebook page because that was the disgusting part. You try to say I fake and stole the highest awards of our nation. No, that's not going to happen. But the other things that we have going on, I filed the complaint with the United States Department of Defense, Office of Inspector General. They called me back and they said, this is an inside job. The job part is my words. That I needed to resend under the whistleblower. But then I said, you can identify me. I'm identifying myself, and they can ask me any question that they want to. But now we have that investigation that's going to come. I'm not a vindictive person, but if someone can go into someone's file, or someone has their personal file and they are releasing it without a FOIA, because I called the JAG on Tuesday, as soon as they opened, and the person who manages the FOIAs told me on speaker with my wife, no, there was no FOIA request under your name.
Yeah, somebody stole it.
I'm not making an excuse that, I'm shifting because that's what people are saying. Always trying to shift to the illegal access and the violation of privacy laws. No, we're talking about what I admitted to, the warrant officer packet. And the general made a point to say, this is fraudulent if you submit a packet and you are doing it and you don't meet all the criteria of the program, and you're getting someone to give you an evaluation for a period of time that is not accurate, that is fraudulent. And that is true. And I went along with this. I 100% did. But I never frauded anybody's names. I didn't manufacture any letters. I didn't pin in anybody's. No, it didn't happen at all. And neither did I ever steal valor at all. So I hope I was clear on this, but ask any question.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. But I am going to ask one question, something that keeps coming up in the chat. Is there something about a scuba diving badge or something?
Yes, because that was one of the accusations. Well, he's wearing a badge that he did not earn. So prior service regulations, if you have a badge or a medal or an award from prior service, you are authorized to wear it.
That's correct.
It just has to come through the new branch. And so and that's one of the documents that are out there. When I enlisted in 2001, they went through all of my records. Again, I don't have access. Anybody who served in the military, folks, if you're a civilian, soldiers cannot enter information into their own DD-214. We cannot make our own DD-214.
Correct.
We cannot enter our own personnel into our personal information, our badges or medals. We cannot enter that information into our own personnel records unless we're admin people with access.
Right.
But regular soldiers, we don't do that because we don't have access to do that. So there's no manipulation or fraud that we can do. We can't. It's done from an administrative branch who does that.
Yeah. And I can understand why some people might not be able, that might not be in their purview, right? They're not associated with it. They've never had to deal with it.
Yeah. So I was never an admin. I was a flight medic at one point in time, and search and rescue swimmer, and then a Green Beret. But I was never admin, and I never had access to entering my own information. So when I transferred in,
you were a search and rescue swimmer. Is that how you got the scuba diving?
No, it's from going to school. So going to search and rescue swimmer school, and then the following course to dive is how I got that.
Okay.
In Pearl Harbor. So this is the Marine Corps, Navy Marine Corps dive. And that's what that was.
Okay.
And when I came into the Army, right, that is where they did the orders chart, and they awarded me the orders and the MOS.
Okay, hold on.
00
Semi, we're right up
10.
on top of the hour. It's going to be about a 5-minute break here. So if you need to step away for a sec or do whatever, you totally can. We'll come back. More with Semi Bird. He's going to stay with us a little bit later. Thank you so much. We'll continue with Semi Bird, Republican candidate for the governor of the state of Washington after this. This is Outlaw Radio Network. All right. Hey, Semi, rather than take 5 minutes and just fill with dead air, do you want to take some questions from the millions and millions of people in the audience? Do you want to?
Absolutely.
Okay. I haven't really previewed them at all, so I'm just gonna look through this stuff and see. All right, let's see.
Let me
go ahead, Paul. Thank you.
It's okay, Kevin. I love you anyway, my naval brother.
You know what? You'd be nice.
Here's it.
By the way, I noticed the shot that Semi took at me earlier when he said one of the people in studio had military experience. He was just leaving the Navy guy out. I saw what he did there.
Oh, brother. So, oh my goodness. No, you would know. So I am so sorry.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time, Semi. It's okay.
So to the point that we were making earlier, somebody was he told us he was, quote, playing lieutenant colonel. Folks, I was never an officer, and yet I had to command a tank for 2 weeks as a gunner, as an E5 sergeant. That puts me in a tank commander slot for my platoon leader. That's all that is. It doesn't mean you're pretending to be some rank you're not. That's not it at all.
See, thank you. And that is it. It's a slot. And so you can sit in a slot or in a position, because I know it's called MTO, but every position in a unit has a number that corresponds to the position.
A paragraph.
And for me to be there, I had to get permission from the commanding general. I didn't. The commander of the element I was serving had to get permission from the commanding general, Special Operations Command Pacific, for me to be there, because I was a sergeant first class, and they did. And I served in the position. My unit knows it. My commander knew it. Command Sergeant Major knew it. The commanding general, everybody knew it. The ambassador knew it, because that's who I supported and advised on all things related to what we did And I'm not going to go too far into that, except for what is very green and very out there. But thanks for the clarification. But this is what they do. I say one thing, and then all of a sudden I'm a fake lieutenant colonel. I will say I was a GS-14. And you look at that GS-14, what is the equivalency to the military? So once you Google that right now, not to confuse people. I was a federal employee, guys, and so GS-14 is just a rank for civilian federal employees.
I'm an 11 for what it's worth.
Here we go. See,
I'm an 11. Yeah,
you know what I'm talking.
Let me. I'm gonna read this, and I want you to respond because Semi, I'll be honest with you. I've been concerned about the candidacy since all this stuff has come up, and so I'm gonna read this and tell you what I'm thinking. I want you to reply. Brandy, who we love. Hi, Brandy. She said, and I quote, "This man is a perpetual victim. Lied about the court-martial, hid the bank fraud, hid the gun charge, hid the reprimand, dishonest to the core." Now, without ignoring the intent of the question, when an average voter looks at this and sees, well, wait a minute, we got the court-martial, we got the bank fraud, we got the gun. Well, at some point where there's smoke, there's fire, right? When there's enough accusations, aren't there questions about character? How do you respond to that?
Yeah, no, you can go back 40 years where I punched a racist in the mouth. I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not going to apologize for my life. And so Brandy and all the rest of the Reichert supporters and her her words and the slander, apparently she conducts herself much differently than I do. Have you ever heard people say, can't get me to run for office? No, not with the whole way I've lived my life. Nuh-uh. Does that make people who say that bad people? Does that make them undeserving to serve their country? I can serve and die for my country, but I cannot serve the citizens of my state. I mean, what do you think has more value, serving and dying on foreign land or serving the citizens of the state that you were raised in, that you've been a resident of for 57 years? Who gave Brandy Cruz and her pack, Ari and the rest of them, Jason, all of them, John, who gave them the right to determine who can serve? I thought that belonged to we the people, the citizens of Washington State. But this is what we're up against. These are these elitists, these mainstreamers who she'll play, well, I'm not even a Republican, or I'm conservative today, maybe not tomorrow. I don't even know what they are.
Okay, Semi, hold that thought. We're coming back on AM, and this is a hard break, so stay right there. We're going to get one last segment with Semi Bird, Republican candidate for governor, back after this on Outlaw.
Greed, deception, abuse of power, that's no plan. I'm the enemy. Because I like to think. I like to read. I'm into freedom of speech and freedom of choice. I'm the kind of guy that just sit in a greasy spoon and wonder, gee, should I have the T-bone steak with a jumbo rack of barbecue ribs with a side order of gravy fries? I want high cholesterol. I want to eat bacon and butter and buckets of cheese, okay? I want to smoke a Cuban cigar the size of Cincinnati in the non-smoking section. I want to run through the streets naked with green Jell-O all over my body reading Playboy magazine. Why? Because I suddenly might feel the need to, okay, pal? I've seen this. You know what it is? It's a 47-year-old virgin sitting around in his beige pajamas, drinking a banana broccoli shake, singing, I'm an Oscar Mayer winner.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network.
All right, Outlaw Radio 905. So, Semi, we're going to take an extra 10 minutes with Semi. And I am so thankful, Semi, that you've agreed to stick on a little bit later. You've traveled all day. It's a school night and a work night for a lot of us. So thanks for the extra time. In respect to you, I want to drop the accusation questions for the next 10 minutes. I want to take an opportunity to talk about what you're doing on the campaign trail, what you've learned, what you're running on, what the voters need to know about who Semi is. Because I think, rightly or wrongly, the accusations, whatever they are, we still need to know who the man is running for office and what he wants to do if he's elected. So please tell me what you've been hearing on the campaign trail as you're out talking to people, networking with people. What are the messages that you're getting?
I think it's the same messages we're all seeing. We live in an economy right now in Washington State that young people and seniors can't afford to live in. But we're not talking enough about that. We have small businesses and our seniors that are being driven out of the state right now. Our small business owners are the lifeblood of our economy. 50.7% of all people who work in the state work for small business owners, but yet we overtax them. We penalize government against them. We have L&I, B&O taxes. There's no management or regulation that makes any sense at this government level in Olympia, and no one is doing anything about it. This administration doubled the budget to $71.5 billion. So what I'm hearing from the people is they're fed up and they cannot afford to live here. Young people coming out of high school or college, you have to pile up 10 deep in an apartment to afford an apartment on the west side of the state.
Yes.
And what are they doing? They raise the energy codes to this crazy level for climate change ideology that doubles the cost of apartment units, doubles the cost for building houses, and then they complain that we have a housing affordability crisis that they created themselves. This is what you get when you bring career politicians who don't have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to do the job. That's why in day one, I'm calling for a third-party audit of all state programs, all state offices, because we're going to know where the money's going. We have a liquor tax. We have a gambling tax. We have a gas tax that we've had for decades, but have you seen the roads? Where's that money going? And they're asking for another $1 billion for our roads and bridges.
Yeah, that's
it doesn't make sense. And we could talk about the ferry system all day long, which has been one of the most mismanaged systems in our state amongst many. Yeah. So we need people who have the knowledge, skills, and abilities. And those people in the community, they want someone who is willing to bring change, someone to represent them, not another elitist with a title to go to office and serve those wealthy donor class, those elitists, or any party. I'm here to serve the people of the state, to have the Constitution of Washington State and the United States as my foundation of governance. There's the difference in me. And because of that, they must ruin me and destroy me. And then we are all programs. Oh, who has the most money? Who has the name brand recognition? And so apparently being a constitutionalist means nothing. Apparently having the knowledge to actually bring change means nothing, because we're all brainwashed to a point where we're going to compromise our values,
right?
Because Brandy Cruz tells us to. No, we're going to bring solutions. Lawlessness, homelessness, we've got solutions. So that's what the people are telling us. They want answers to what we are going to do. They don't want to hear us slander each other. They don't want to hear us call names. And so each time the other candidates do that, and I only know of two others that do that, which is Bob and Dave, because I don't hear that from Mark or Ilona. And yes, I will mention Ilona Kearney, a Democrat candidate running, and there's many others. I don't hear them doing this nonsense. So we need to focus on the issues and tell the citizens what we're going to do. Why hasn't Dave Reichert debated me? No one asked him that. No one to put him on the spot. I understand why. I got
a question I'm going to ask you, but I want to say one thing first. In defense of Brandy Cruz, in this sense, she's made it very clear the times that she's no Dave Reichert supporter. So that's her words. That's her words. So anyway, you brought up the concept of housing becoming too expensive and unaffordable. 100% correct. I have a son that's in Poland right now serving with the Big Red One, and he's talking. He ETSs in a year, right? And he's like, "What am I going to do?" He's like, because the cost of a mortgage has almost doubled in the last 4 years. The average mortgage. That's insane. He's like, I would have to get a $70,000 a year job to start with, just to start saving to get a house, right? And he's like, I have no clue what I'm going to do. So I think you're spot on with that, which leads me into my question. We do, whether people want to acknowledge it or not, have an issue with people that are in this country illegally, that are tamping down profitability for, as myself as a contractor, right? I consistently have to go out and compete against crews that are illegal immigrants. They might get their business license, but it doesn't mean they're doing things above board, right? And so they drive the cost on services way down, and I can't compete against that. Any kind of plan or thought process towards being able to help legitimate legal businesses?
Yeah, 100%. So in day one, we're going to declare, just like Jay Inslee did, but we're going to go the other way. Washington State will no longer be a sanctuary state. Clear on day one. The next thing we're going to do is we will support an initiative, or I will initiate it myself through legislation, which I have the right to do under Article 3 of our Constitution, to bring the legislation to say that by law, we must cooperate with ICE and other federal agencies so that we're not hindering them doing their job to enforce deportation of illegal immigrants in Washington State. The next thing we need to do is repeal this nonsense that says we're going to continue to value non-documented workers, to go as far as to allow them to have licenses, business licenses, to compete with our own small businesses who are here legally doing businesses. It doesn't make sense. Illegal immigration puts a strain on our economic system. It puts a strain on every other system of our state. And I have compassion. My son-in-law, my number one, as she likes to be called, my oldest daughter's husband and the father of my grandchildren, was an illegal immigrant. He has his citizenship now as of January 18th of this year. So I understand compassion, but we must be Washington first, just like we should be America first, where we put our citizens first, our Constitution first, and the constitutional rights of citizens and small business owners, property owners first. We need to right the wrongs and correct what's going on in this state.
Sammy, I'm going to ask you a question that's very personal to me, very important to me. I have a daughter who just turned 18, so this question won't apply to her anymore, but the backstory will. As a 16-year-old, she ran away, was known to be on the streets as a runaway, using fentanyl and other illegal drugs. At 16, she was shacked up with a 29-year-old sex offender in a tent in Silverdale. Police wouldn't do anything. DCYF basically dropped the ball, said that they weren't going to get involved. And tomorrow I'm blessed enough to be able to speak with a Senate working panel with 2 state senators to discuss the failures of DCYF. My question for you, though, is, with my daughter in mind, how do we address the challenges our youth are facing, from homelessness to drug addiction to the failures of DCYF and Child Protective Services, or whatever acronym they go by now? What do we do to take care of our kids in a system where the parents have basically been told, well, they're over 13, you really don't have any say in what happens in their lives?
So here's, I guess, the hope is that you all know, and many know, who support me, I'm unafraid to take a stand to protect our children. First, from the unconstitutional mandates. And so you have another candidate running as a Republican who wrote in support of the mandates. So that's clear and on record, Seattle Times. Just like other individuals who say one thing and say another, it's on record and recorded. So then the same individual, when asked about Jay Inslee, his response to the pandemic, oh no, I thought he did a good job. Not this guy. I made sure that parents had the right, the choice to mask or unmask. In my case, I thought parents should have the right to not mask their children because of the depression, the anxiety, and the suicide. We had the highest suicide rate. And the same people who are attacking me said, oh, recall was brought upon him. Why? Because I took a stand to protect the lives of our children. The next thing, fentanyl addiction, the number one killer of all adults in the state, 18 to 45. But it's not just 18 to 45. It's down at the earliest of ages. Babies are dying from exposure to this nonsense. It should be a Class A felony. It should be changed, and it should be a mandatory minimum. And when it comes to drug interdiction, I know how to do it, and I've written a plan to do it. Homelessness, which is out of control, they're talking about housing as the root cause of homelessness. That's not true. It's mental health and addiction. We don't have enough infrastructure right now in Washington State, nor do we have the personnel to bring the services that are needed. So no, this candidate and this governor, God willing, getting elected, I will, and I've said this, I will utilize the law and my executive authority to ensure that we are no longer allowing homelessness encampments in the streets, no more defecation, urination, or unhealthy situations in the streets. We will give them a choice. Either you come into a program that we have brought forward in our program, on our solutions, that gives inpatient care to rescue these people from a darkness of despair of addiction. And then once they get clean, certification programs, training programs, and then job placement programs, and then affordable housing after that, after they're clean. This is what we'll do. And because we're utilizing the law and the Constitution to do it, Seattle, Tacoma, or any other city council who wants to get in the way and say, no, they need more needles or pipes. No, we're not doing that anymore. So we have solutions. Mental health, Eastern State Hospital, Western State Hospital. Western State lost $53 million of federal funding because this administration could not properly manage that mental health facility. We don't have enough mental health facility beds to take care of the people that we need to be taken care of. So we should take the law that just passed last year, which is a compact for nurses. It's reciprocity of licensure. So nurses from another state can come here and have a fast track to practice in Washington State. Why have we not proposed that for law enforcement officers? Why have we not proposed that for mental health treatment individuals and drug treatment professionals? We can do this. We did it for nurses. Why would we not do it for those needed practitioners and for law enforcement when we have the lowest number of law enforcement professionals in the nation? So the solutions aren't complicated. It's just having someone with the personal courage and intestinal fortitude to stand against a system that has been corrupted for too long. That is the true epitome of accountability.
Two more questions. We'll let you get out of that suit, Semi. The last one for me is just kind of an overarching question with the campaign. The other argument I hear about Semi is, well, Semi can't be elected. His campaign doesn't have enough funds. There's not enough fluid funds. The party statewide doesn't have enough money. Meanwhile, Reichert seems to be getting, quote unquote, all the big donors. He's got the money to go toe to toe with Turd Ferguson, as we like to call him. How do you respond to that you guys don't have the money or the financial support to mount a valid competition against Bob Ferguson for the governor race?
It's called strategy. It's called planning. It's called precision and execution. I said that before. And we wanted to bring this false narrative of traditional politics as usual. And then we went to Spokane and we won. 72% supermajority. Where was Dave? And then when he lost, because they tried to change the rules, not for him, for me, and the people spoke, the people are going to speak again. Our donations are increasing. That's not me making things up. We have enough to win the primary. And once we win the primary, just like it happened in 2020, their chosen one didn't work out. The other candidate, the constitutional candidate, won by 9 points. So the money will come to us 100% guaranteed after the primary. Why? Because we don't call names. We don't try to ruin people's lives and go after their families. We don't do that. We focus on bringing solutions, going to the people. We don't hide from debates. We bring solutions and we listen to the people. The money is going to be there. The money is coming more and more every day. We are more focused on going and campaigning and listening to the people who we hope to serve. We've done it once. We're going to do it again. Have hope, have faith. We're bringing back a revival of faith and a revival of patriotism to Washington State. And we will be the center of gravity for the rest of the nation to see what we can do when we, the people, stand up against the establishment uniparty elite. That's what we're doing with my campaign.
I'm going to finish up with this, Semi, because first of all, I think that we're kind of on the same sheet of music about this idea of bringing this civility back, as I brought up earlier, like you were talking about. There is a great deal of consternation, right, online between Dave Reichert supporters and Semi Bird supporters. But frankly, there's a lot of BS and hatred and anger,
including in our chat,
that flows around, right? And I think, like, for Kevin and I, when we talk about this and we bring you on and we do this interview, the point, people, is so that we can be engaged in the realm of ideas and conversation, not in the slang and the throwing down insults and everything else. It literally does nobody any good. So what I wanted to ask you about, Semi, was something that have been told many times over the last couple of months that you supposedly said, which is that if you don't win, you're going to burn it down. Now, I heard that, and I didn't think that really sounded like something that you would say. So I thought I wanted to give you the opportunity to address that, whether you said it, if you did or didn't, and then follow that up with, if you end up winning the primary, are you going to ask the Reichert supporters to back you, or vice versa? If Reichert wins, are you going to go out and endorse and ask your supporters to endorse him?
So let me speak to the overarching question. I think, number one, we signed a pledge, and the pledge said this: if Dave Reichert won the convention, because he was supposed to, remember, he had millions of dollars. He was supposed to crush me in King County, Pearson Snow. Didn't work out that way. But I signed a pledge stating I would get behind him, endorse him, and support him. He did not sign the pledge. He, in turn, told the press that it was taken from him because they changed the rules. They changed the rules to take me out. That is not my opinion. You guys know that is the truth. And what did I do? I embraced our chairman. I embraced our party. And there's more to this that I could tell. But the times of falling in the sword are over with for Semi Bird. I know how to take responsibility and accountability. I learned that back in 2009. Now we're taking responsibility and accountability for those citizens who believe in Washington, who believe in America. Dave Reichert has called me a con man, a snake oil salesman, and you saw what his campaign and what these individuals are doing to myself and my family. Remember that when we're talking about the traditional politics of getting behind who and getting behind this person. I want the right candidate for Washington State. I've already demonstrated in writing with my own signature that I would support the other person, and I have never slandered him. But look how he runs his campaign, and look at the words he says about me. Please take that into consideration. Burning down the party. I've been a Republican my entire life, and I don't think anybody can make a mistake about Semi Bird being a Republican or being a conservative or supporting our platform. I have been very strict and staunch about that, but I will never sell out my party or sell out my Constitution or sell out my country or for politics as usual. No, I'm a Republican for real. So that's what I want people to know. I am never going to sell out to the elite class who think that they can steal elections with money or think that they can slander, vilify, and character assassinate their way to victory. It's wrong. And I learned, again, to do the right thing. So be assured of this, my friends. I will do the right thing. Always. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely.
So here's what I'm going to do. Semi, first of all, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for staying almost an extra half hour with us. I appreciate it. I want to do this again. Let's continue the conversation. I'll reach out. We'll get you back on in a month or two or something. Let's just keep the conversation going. And thanks again for your time. Any closing thoughts before we wrap this?
No, I appreciate you guys. Well done. I'll always come back because you're classy. You keep it classy, and that's what we need to do. And I ask again, Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment. Keep that in mind. And so that's what we should be looking at, uniting, coming together, not after a primary, coming together now. Bob Ferguson is out there. He's not the boogeyman. But when we divide and we slander each other as candidates, it's wrong. That's why I don't do it. So I'll see you guys soon, and hopefully with some even better news.
Thank you, sir. Semi Bird. Phil, do me a favor. When we end this, drop Semi into the background. He can stay on if he wants to, or he can leave. Nobody will know. We can't really track it. But so if he wants to hear what people are going to say. But Semi, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Semi.
Thanks, you guys. Take care.
Thanks. All right, bye-bye. All right, so I want to address one thing that's been resonated in chat, that we're not calling him out on quote unquote lies.
Well,
here's all I'm going to say to that, which is I don't know what are lies anymore. I don't know what lies you're alluding to. Now, I know that there are, well, that's not really why he was, what happened with the ballot in Spokane and all of that. I get it. I know what you're all referring to. My goal with this interview, I won't speak for Paul. My goal with the interview was to get him on, ask him the questions, let him answer it without somebody ragdolling him. And then you heard his answers. Now you make a decision. You're a voter. You're going to go read things on the internet. You're going to whatever. This is your opportunity to have heard his response rather than some drumbeat attack ad interview And yeah, I'm calling Rance out. I know what Rance is established. He's much more popular and famous and makes a whole lot more money in this business than I do. And that's fine. But I thought his interview and interviews like that are low key. They're
Low
just
key, you mean low bar?
not even low key, low skill. Like anybody can dog bone somebody when you've got a big pulpit to do it. But I think what was more important was the opportunity we gave Semi tonight. Now you've heard his answers. You've heard his responses. You know where he stands. Now, I'm not saying to vote for him, but now you've had the opportunity to hear the response without somebody interrupting him every 20 seconds to call him a liar or tell him he's being dishonest or any of that. Like that's what we set out to do.
We have a comment in the chat.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna go to Facebook.
I was just gonna say it sums it up.
Yes.
The truth has become subjective.
Well,
100%.
Yep.
Amen. All right, we're gonna do some Facebook stuff. If you're on AM, enjoy the commercials. We're back after this. This is Outlaw Radio Network. Obviously, tonight's show is brought to you by Good and Plenty. K-Dog brings them to the studio, and everybody else eats them.
And Paul's Bowl for All.
Yeah.
That's right. You too could not know a damn thing about anything in the world. Just join Paul's Bowl for
Are they
All.
still around? They haven't accused me of being the Grandmaster of the KKK in a while, so I kind of forgot they existed. I want to read comments in the chat really quick. And Brandy, I know you're in the chat. If you'd like to call in, we would love to hear from you. Or if you want to video in for a few minutes, we can get you a StreamYard link if you want to come on for a few minutes. Because I know he said things about you specifically. And we have a lot of respect for you. And so if you want to come on, hit us up, let us know. So Rick said, I think your approach was fine. I don't think anything he said changed anybody's minds, though. Probably. Marla said, I'm a Bird supporter. I've never heard him say something. She just, I remember we see these comments like 3-5 minutes after you've sent them. So sometimes they don't really work. Don says Semi has our vote 100%. Robert is the one who said the truth has become subjective. Corey said, we love you. Brandy Cruz, we love you too. MJ said the first donation he made to the Republican Party was February 13th of 23 for a table. That's according to FEC reports. Again, I don't know what that means. It might be in relation to the fact he said he's been a Republican for decades. Corey said there wasn't a straight answer all night. I don't know. Do you feel like he gave straight answers? I'm not saying truthful, right? There's a difference between whether or not you think he was telling the truth.
You know why what you're saying is accurate?
Yeah.
Because how the hell would any of us or anybody out there know? You're not. None of us were there on the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
None of us were there when those conversations and that paperwork was filled out. When he explained what happened, what his reprimand was for, that I understood.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen it happen to my son. So these things are very real. And if you don't understand the nuance behind those conversations, it may sound hokey and it may sound this way or that way. It doesn't mean it is. And that really points to the bigger issue that we have right now with politics. We have a country that's, a bunch of tires sitting on a tinderbox.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
okay,
we're on Facebook, right? No,
we're on AM now.
Okay. All right. I think that's what Phil was waving about.
Yeah, that's what their hands.
Glad I held off on that comment. Anyway, it just, from our perspective, well, at least mine, and you guys can tell me if you agree or not, it is really easy to see where the division comes from and how it ramps up so quickly. And, just by watching the chat tonight,
mm-hmm.
and seeing people, whether people attacking Brandy, or Semi say, I mean, when you're running for office and you're a candidate, and the reason we wanted to ask so bad about the stolen valor as a veteran myself, as Kevin being a veteran, like that's super offensive.
Oh yeah.
If he did it, it was super offensive.
And do you remember what our knee-jerk reaction was when we heard it, Paul? Because we talked about it on this show. The knee-jerk for us was
I was pretty upset about.
Yeah, holy cow, that's true, man. That's awful. Like that's really bad. That is like persona non grata. Like I think at that moment we would have been hard pressed to say we'd even have him on the show again if that was true.
But then as you start learning and putting pieces together. Now, again, maybe he did. How would I know? I wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
But folks, neither were any of you. Right? And there are clearly two sides to the story. So what does it ultimately come down to? Choice. Because the fact of the matter is nobody knows. Not a single person out there listening, not me, not Kevin. None of us know. That's the bottom line. It's the truth. You may not want to accept it, right? You may be like, he's a liar. Okay. He's a felon. Yeah, I'm pretty willing to bet if you're voting Trump, so is he. So, I mean, just pointing out the obvious, folks. I'm voting for Trump. So clearly, a man with a criminal record doesn't bother me. He had a bankruptcy years ago. I don't care. You know what? That makes a person a lot more realistic, if you ask me. Because unless you're born wealthy in an economy like 2006 to 2008.
How about 2006 to right now?
Well, yes, you could certainly say that. Listen, like I said during the interview, right? And Dr. Phil, by the way, did a great segment on Bidenomics. If you haven't seen it, look it up on YouTube. It's great. And he's explaining to these younger people, let me tell you what Bidenomics has got for you. It got you a doubling in average mortgage prices in the last 3 years. That is not sustainable.
Right.
What everybody in this room is planning for on retirement, my wife and I just had this conversation. Everything we are looking at right now, I'm going to take this money from this paycheck and it's going to go here. This money's going to go there. And I'm going to invest this and I'm going to put this away towards retirement. Whatever. When you look at the way the economy is going the last 3 years, I promise you, and I have no problem saying this, I promise you, no matter what you think you are going to need to retire, you're wrong.
Oh, yeah.
None of us know how bad this economy is going to get. None of us know how much more. Like, you know what your Social Security is going to get you in 20 years, Kevin?
A loaf of bread.
Yeah, not much.
If it's there at all.
If it's there at all.
Right.
So, and listen, these people, I got a 401k. Yeah. All it takes is one bad day on the stock market and you ain't got jack.
Or a divorce.
Right.
I mean, hey, all of my stuff is gone.
That's the bottom line, man.
Let me say this real quick because a lot of people are talking about this in chat that he calls names. I'm just going to say this, and again, I'm not the Republican in the room. I'm not a conservative in the room. I'm more of a Dem. So I'm going to be hated by all of you anyway. After I say this, it's totally fine.
No one hates you as much.
For a lot of people that are Republicans and conservatives that are going to vote for Trump, y'all better get over this being sensitive that he calls names, because I don't think you can have it both ways. You can't be part of a party that nationally is going to back Trump, who's called plenty of names, mocked handicapped reporters, talked about women negative in audio tapes. Stop it. But I'm just saying it's really silly to be like, oh, he calls names. Now, you're right when he says he doesn't call names and then he does. Like, that's questionable. But if that's the worst thing you're going to get Semi for, it's low-hanging fruit. The rest of it, God bless it, man. Listen. We love Brandy. She said she loves us in chat. Thank you, Brandy. Enjoy the couch. She's on her couch tonight listening to the show. I don't know. And I don't know how anybody on this broadcast, for or against Semi, I don't know how anybody can have how anybody can have a line on what is true and what is not. Did Semi lie about his medals and his awards? Did Semi lie on his warrant officer packet? Did Semi take a fraudulent loan? Did Semi appropriately or inappropriately punch somebody in the mouth? None of us are going to know that. And I'm not endorsing Semi, but for a country where we're all about second chances and all that kind of stuff, and Tara Simmons is your Democratic state representative up in the 23rd district, and she's a convicted felon. I don't know. I don't know how to like rectify all the stuff in my brain.
I think that's the point.
Yeah, and I think it's what they've done in our politics, just in general, right?
I mean, just the division that we're experiencing now.
Let's make you believe everything about Joe Biden is wrong. Let's make you believe that everything about Donald Trump, not wrong, everything is bad. Let's make you believe everything about Donald Trump is bad. Everything about Semi Bird is bad. Everything about Dave Reichert is bad. Everything about everybody is bad. how is anybody supposed to know how to vote?
That's been American politics from, I mean, you remember the campaigns and such in the 1800s about mudslinging, and I mean that's always been American politics.
Look,
and it's just gotten worse as the decades go by.
See, I think you're right, but I disagree with you. If that can be understood.
Okay.
Like I believe
Like,
that it
yes,
has
it
not
happens.
gotten worse. I think that I mean Aaron Burr, right? It's like,
well,
you know,
that's fair.
Kill the most important founding father.
So my point just is that I think that we've got two issues in this country that have made politics particularly worse, and that is social media and our media.
Oh,
those two things
wholeheartedly
have
help
taken. Well, I'm talking legacy
I
media.
know.
Okay, those two things, right? Media has to generate ad revenue, so they want the clicks, they want the hits, they want the aha moments,
and
right?
everything has to be sensational.
Correct.
Yeah.
And social media, you know, everybody wants to be a freaking keyboard warrior.
Yeah.
And so there is no civility left for a fair portion of this country. I would say, and I could be wrong, it's just a guesstimate, I'm saying a full quarter of the people in this country do not possess the ability to be civil when talking politics.
Yep.
It's gone.
They can be civil in person.
Of course.
Yeah.
You know why?
Yeah.
Threat of a bloody nose.
Well,
that's true.
Yeah.
Like if you walk up to me and because I say, oh, I'm going to vote for Trump, and you're offended by that, so you start saying a whole bunch of bad words and you start insulting me and my wife and my kids and going off. And I've seen this online, okay? Because these people that are being keyboard warriors, they don't have the courage to come up to you and say that to your face.
No, because they
just
know what
don't.
had happened.
Yeah. So
and they know that if you're a Trump supporter, you're probably packing anyway.
Yeah, right. You know, I mean, the closest, this is no joke. You might not believe this, but the closest I've ever experienced that, and I've experienced it many times, but the closest experience was actually Kevin's fault. Because Kevin here was having a WrestleMania party, and I was wearing my Trump sweatshirt, said "Make America Bright Red," and I went to Safeway to get stuff for his party. My son.
Yeah.
So I'm in line, and this young couple in front of me is just talking mad smack. Can't believe he'd wear that in here. Da, 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 right? Yeah. Guess where they went? Kevin's party. And I walked in the door right behind him, and you could have heard a pin drop.
Yeah.
It was wonderful because at that moment they understood. Oh crap! Right? It's about
we
to
got to
real,
deal
so.
with a Trump supporter for the next 4 hours of the pay-per-view. Brandy said again, it's not whether or not he did these things. It's lying about and hiding them. He lied about his court martial when asked about it, said it was his cousin with the same name. Okay. Brandy's right. Like, just own it. But
I don't know anything about a court martial. I don't know where that was.
I'm just saying the overall premise of her comment, right, is right. If you're wrong, then own it, accept it, take responsibility for it.
I don't disagree.
But I'm
with that.
going to tell you this right now, and I wasn't going to bring up my dating relationship life, but I will just for a second for an example.
Promised me you wouldn't.
I've been in relationships that went south, and I got caught in trouble doing something I shouldn't do, and when you're blindsided, you respond with deflection. It's human nature. Now, I don't know how much deflection he had, how much time he had to prep or any of that. I'm just saying, when you get caught, when you're busted, the first thing you think to say is, wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Well,
and again, I don't have all the context.
And I would like to state the one thing with regards to the documents that were released. Look, clearly somebody's behind that. Okay. Because and again, as somebody who, I mean, and you work for the VA, Kevin.
Yeah.
We know how government records are. Sealed, whatever, doesn't really matter. Nobody has a right to your records except you. So getting somebody, it's like getting Donald Trump's tax returns.
Yep.
That stuff does not show up because you ask for it. And again, I'm not defending him either way, but you can see where it can be played by people that don't like him to make it look a certain way.
Yep.
Just with the document itself. People, you got to remember, if you're going to say somebody, person A isn't honest, but then you weren't honest in getting information that you actually didn't read and know how to understand, and you were playing it off to other people, it's like a bad meme on the internet, man.
Yeah.
People don't know that it's untrue, and there's nobody out there. Again, I don't know what's true and what isn't on any of it. What bothers me is that too many people are taking it at face value as a factual truth. However, it was explained to them. Oh, this document says this person is X, Y, and Z. Well, I mean, it doesn't really say that in the document, but I assumed it, right? And that's the point. That's where we're at. And it doesn't do anything except make people want to punch each other in the face on social media, because they think they're freaking Rambo.
And listen, if there's any group I expect to be sensitive to this, it's Republicans and conservatives. The idea of cancel culture is something that every Republican and conservative that I can think of spoke out against, right? You can't just make accusations without merit. You can't try things in the court of public opinion. We are innocent until proven guilty. We can't bury people just based off of accusations. And yet, how many times have we seen that happen in this country?
And at least in Washington State, I'm sorry, Republicans, but we've seen this now in the last 2 elections. An amazing amount of vitriol and hatred from 2 different sides, pointing fingers at each other and being just angry and mad because somebody won't believe what you are saying or what you want to believe, right? Stop it.
And what happened to the accusations about Trump conspiring with the Russians for the election? You remember that?
I'm still waiting on
Adam
Adam Schiff.
But do you understand my point, though? That was used as part and parcel to attack him, and then it went away. Why? Because there was nothing behind it. But it was certainly used as leverage to attack it. I'm not saying that's what's happened with Semi.
Right.
It sounds like, even from Semi's own words, there's at least a little bit of smoke to some of the fire. Now, how much of it you're going to have to decide as the voter? But we can't cancel people in a spur-of-the-moment response to something and let that be where it ends, because that's not a country, man. That's not a place I want to be in.
Hey, I'll be calling in, you guys, so pay attention. Paul's not leaving, but I have kids to get home.
All right, we'll take a break really quick. Paul's going to check out. We'll do some more talking. We're going to check your comments, and we'll also talk to Trojo. It's Outlaw Radio. More about Semi Bird next. Outlaw Radio. Our good friend Chris Gergen is in chat. Chris said, Semi Bird is a liar. He's a con man, and conservative has been sucked in by this clown. August 6th, he'll go away. And if he decides to try to co-opt the party, I'll be coming out of the darkness and wreck this guy. Total fraud. And Chris, I'm going to ask you a question for you to respond back in chat, unless you want to call in at 360-874-1400. In fact, phone lines are open to all of you yahoos. You guys want to call in and talk about Semi Bird or Dave Reichert or the interview or whatever, we just ask you to remember that we're on AM, so don't swear. But otherwise, if you want to call and tell us how great we are or rip us apart or whatever you want to do, phone lines are open. Chris, what happens if he wins the primary in August? What happens if he's the party nominee? Will you, and do you believe most of the rest of the Republican Party in the state of Washington will coalesce behind him if he's the nominee? Can there be a level of unification to go up against Turd Ferguson? Because I'll tell you right now, man, there better be. There'd better be some, because I cannot handle a 4-year governorship of Bob Ferguson. I just can't do it. So, Chris, you specifically, and do you think Republicans will be able to coalesce behind Bird if he's the nominee? And Bird said tonight that he would back him if he got it. Now, we'll have to see if that's true. And I think a lot of people would right now say, yeah, that's not going to happen. He's not going to back him. But are you guys going to get behind Bird if he wins? And I mean all of you in chat. If you're a Reichert supporter, you're going to get behind Bird if he gets a nominee? Because if not, we're host. We are absolutely host. Chris says, nope, I'll be silent about Semi and work to get Republicans elected, including Semi, but I'll never champion him publicly. Rick said, no, it's a more technical position of their commission, comes from a different source. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, that's about the warrant officer and civilian officer. Yeah, boy, man, I came into the interview with Semi tonight 99% sure that he was not the guy. Okay. I leave the interview 95% sure he's not the guy. Not because I don't like Semi. Like as a person, as his message, as his messaging, I like the guy. I don't think he can win. He could be the second coming of Ronald Reagan now, and he could not win. There's too much negative flack on him. There's too much negative news, too much negative reporting, too much of a negative PR image. I don't think he can win. And that's not to say any of it's true. It might all be a lie. But in political circles now, Semi Bird is tainted meat. Go ahead, Tom.
I see. I think the problem is voters are still letting mainstream or legacy media or whatever think for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it weren't for, I don't think mainstream media. I don't think all of this stuff would have come out regarding Semi if mainstream media hadn't been part of digging it up and part of the mouthpiece for getting it out there. No one's perfect, so everyone's got a little something in their past, and we don't hear about it from Ferguson. We don't hear about it from Reichert. No one else. So I don't know. Yeah, well, I think you're right.
Are we back on AM? Are we okay? Tom, carry this for a sec.
Okay.
My daughter might have been involved in an accident. Carry this for a sec. Hold on.
No. Oh.
Okay, no, she didn't. Nope. She didn't. It's okay. All right. She was there when the accident happened, and her boyfriend helped out, but she didn't. She wasn't involved. Okay.
Oh.
Look at that. There's a picture for you. That's her boyfriend circled, but that's the picture.
Yeah, that's a car with airbags deployed.
Yeah.
And it's not in the right place on what should be the road.
Okay. So anyway, just about made me pee myself. All right.
Scary dad moment.
Being a daughter dad. Let me tell you that. All right. Trojo's in studio. We haven't had Trojo in here in forever. I'm gonna do a little jab at Trojo, and I say little because he's short. I'm gonna do a little jab at Trojo because he hasn't been in studio in months. But we have a big interview with Semi Bird, and then here comes Trojo. What's up, buddy?
I would like to talk, but it sounds like my mic may be muted.
No, your mic is on. It's just not very loud.
Oh,
yeah, it was doing that to me too.
I got it. All right. Well,
Phil, would you turn his? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Trojo.
Well, anyway, I just like to say hello. How are y'all doing? And I am glad to be back in studio. It's been a while. I'm going to act like I still know how to do this.
Good to see you, buddy. It's nice to see you.
And I missed the crew. I'm not going to lie.
Did you hear the big news that came out today?
Which news was that?
The Cowboys have been officially eliminated from the NFL playoffs.
And so, along with the Seahawks, I got it.
All right, let me before we get into this anymore further,
already.
I want to check the chat really quick, and then we have a phone call. Rhonda says, if Reichert wins, I'll back him. We cannot let Bob Ferguson into the governor's mansion. Like Trump, he is getting hit with everything the Reichert team can throw. She means Semi. They are running scared because Semi won the Republican endorsement. And then Chris said what was said earlier. Semi's always the victim, always an excuse. The guy has an electric smile and an empty suit. Total fraud. All right, do we have a name? No, we just know it's a Semi supporter. This scares me. This scares me when they don't give a name. Hello, caller. What's going on?
Oh, hey. No, my name is Marla. I'm a Semi Bird supporter and volunteer on his campaign. I just wanted to say that I've known Semi since last year, and I have never, ever heard him say anything about burning down this Republican Party. As a matter of fact, he's all about unity in almost every conversation I've ever had with him. He also tells his supporters not to get nasty on social media, which sometimes that's really hard to do because the conversations on social media not only attack Semi, but a lot of times Bird supporters are called names.
Mm-hmm.
Brandy Cruz herself called us a circle jerk of supporters. And I just want to make it clear that everybody has a past. Everybody has skeletons in their closet. Some of them never dig them up. This guy will tell you anything you want to know. He will answer any question off the cuff. And if you haven't been out to meet him or see him, I highly recommend that you do.
Well, Marla, let me say this. One, thank you for being involved, not in regard to the candidate, but just being involved enough in the process to be a part of it and to be out to help make change and change and push a candidate and push for programs and parties and all of that. So thank you for doing that. Let me ask you a question. As a semi-bird supporter, does any of the accusations alarm you? Not in the sense of whether or not they're true, right? Because Semi's made it clear kind of where he stands on all of them. I don't want to rehash that. But do you think it impacts his ability to get elected with all of the negative comments, quotes, negative atmosphere around him because of this? Does it damage him as a candidate to the general population?
No, I believe that people see his faults from years ago. You know, like I said, we all have skeletons, and he's very open about it. And I believe that it actually enhances his possibilities as a candidate, as shown at the convention in Spokane. He doesn't run from his problems. He faces them straight on. So I actually think we, the people, the grassroots people, appreciate his honesty, that he's human.
Fair enough. And let me ask you one other question, Marla. If Reichert gets the nod in August, obviously that's not the way you want it to go, but Reichert gets the nod in August. Do you think Bird supporters in general will back Reichert to make sure we don't get 4 years of Turd Ferguson?
I believe hesitantly they will. But I think his voting record, voting Democrat most of the time, and his involvement with Big Pharma, getting donations from Bill Gates, that kind of stuff, is questionable whether we're just voting for one Democrat or the other.
Fair enough. Marla, you can call in anytime. Thanks for checking out the show. Continue to do so and call it back anytime, okay?
You guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. But be sure to tell our advertisers that's always nice to hear. Thank you, Marla.
Will do.
I want to read this. So Brandy did have a response to the circle jerk comment. I'm just going to quote this. This is off of our chat in case you didn't see it. Brandy says, Tracy, do you know how a circle jerk is defined? A situation in which a group of people engage in self-indulgent or self-gratifying behavior, especially by reinforcing each other's views or attitudes. That is not ever how I've thought the word circle jerk really was designed. Brandy is still teaching me new things because I didn't think circle jerk was something we could talk about on the radio. But using this definition, I can now say this show is a circle jerk. Thank you, Brandy, and I love you for that. We have another caller.
We have Chris.
All right. By the way, phone line's open, 360-874-1400. Please remember that we are on AM, even though you may be hearing us on social media. If you swear, we'll dump you and boot you. So Phil, be on the boot button. Chris, what's going on?
Hey, man, listen, before I make a comment on all this, I want to say that I am deeply disappointed that you did not invite me to the circle jerk. It's like you're not invited to a barbecue.
Well, listen,
I mean,
I would have
going on, man?
I would have invited you to Chris Gergen. I would have invited you to the circle jerk, but I just found out 30 seconds ago that this was indeed a circle jerk. So you're invited to the next one. In fact, you're invited to everyone. I can't believe,
man. I appreciate it.
I can't believe that I've reached the point of my broadcasting career where I have requested a political operative to join us in our circle jerk. I have achieved radio gaga. Chris, what do you?
Yep.
Chris, listen, you're really well connected in political circles. You've got your hands in a whole bunch of campaigns, and you talk with a lot of the movers and the shakers behind the scenes that help make these things happen. Where do you stand on all this? And hold on, before we do that, Chris, can you briefly tell people who you are to put context to the answer that you're about to give?
Okay, so Chris Gergen, I run Dark Horse Political. I'm the kind of guy that you really love me or you really don't. And I fall in one of those two camps. I ran Lauren Culp's campaign in 2020. I've run many other multiple campaigns in the state since that time. I've got 7 clients in Washington State this cycle. I've got 4 in Nevada. My wife is on the Trump staff. I was on Trump's staff in 2016. Our business has clients in multiple states and 2 continents. So I've been doing this for 28 years.
Thank you, sir. Okay, give us your lay of the land.
So my problem with the Semi Bird thing is that first of all, he's been in the race an eternity. 18, 19, 20 months now is way too long to be where he's at. His campaign never gained traction because he can't keep staff. He's a poor leader. He spent money in all the wrong places on the front end, and he isn't making the calls. I had a conversation with his first general consultant way back last March, not March 24, but back in March 23. And I told him Semi needs to be making calls. And he said that he just got Semi to agree to make 200 to 250 calls a month. And I was like, what? He needs to be making 200 to 250 calls a day. He needs to be on the phone, like knocking it down. Like, as a candidate, ladies and gentlemen, you have two jobs. You shake hands and you raise money. That is all you do. You don't handle the marketing. You don't handle the commercials. You don't handle the ground team. You don't handle all of the doors and the calls and the text and all the mailers. You don't handle any of that stuff. You have staff. You have people. That is why you have to raise money to actually do those things. And this has nothing to do with all of the drama that has come out about him. From him lying about, well, he and his cousin had the same, and then he turned around and be, oh, well, yeah, I guess that was me. Right? So from the very first thing he denied and then admitted later, like it's just been a train wreck. If you set all of that aside, just operationally, his campaign doesn't have the legs. It just doesn't have the legs. And it is disingenuous of anyone. And listen, I know people are rooting for him. And listen, I love you for loving Semi, and I want you to vote for Semi in August. I'm not telling you not to. I'm just saying the reality here is he doesn't have the legs. He doesn't have the organization. He doesn't have the people around him that it's going to take to get to the next level. And he doesn't have the money. And I know no one likes to think that money matters. Well, listen, money matters in politics. It just does. Well, Chris, it shouldn't. Well, okay. But it does.
Chris, let me just be clear. Let me just be clear. I didn't say I was voting for him. But I still agree with you, right? I mean, even if all the accusations are BS, right? He still doesn't have the money or the infrastructure, I don't think currently, to do what needs to be done. Hold that thought for Chris. We're gonna, for those of you on AM, we're gonna go to the top of the hour news. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. For those of you on Facebook, stay right there. We'll talk a little bit more with Chris, and we'll get Trojan in on this conversation as well. It's Outlaw Radio. All right, so some other good comments in chat, by the way, Chris, you'll like these. Brandy said circle jerks are a blast. I don't know.
I don't want to know how she knows that.
I don't know.
I don't want to know how she knows that.
Would it be inappropriate to invite guests onto the Circle Jerk? Should we change the name of this show to the Circle Jerk Radio Network? That's what I want to know. That's the question.
It might be a more apt name.
It might be.
You know, there was a punk band that might take issue with that.
There might be.
The Circle Jerk.
Oh, that's true. There was, yeah.
Listen, Chris, when are you going to be in the area again? Can we have you on the show again? I would love to have you in for like a full 3 hours and just rip everything up and dig into all of it. I mean, the state stuff, the national stuff, all of it. So next time you're going to be around, will you let me know?
Absolutely, man. I'm out in Spokane right now.
Okay, well, there's nothing in Spokane. I've been there, and there's nothing there.
Yeah, I know. You preach to the choir. You know, but I do have a client out here, and we're going to crush it. So I gotta be here to help him out. So.
All right, buddy. Stay in touch, will you, please? Don't forget about us.
Sounds great, man. I appreciate it.
There he goes. Chris Gergen, everybody. Supporter, good friend of the show.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy. All right. Trojo, what you just walked into a cesspool of craziness tonight, didn't you?
I really did walk into something tonight. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but actually, I knew, I kind of vaguely knew because, I mean, Kevin, you still the main host of the show, I think. So anytime
Thank you for acknowledging that. Thank you for that.
Anytime you're going to be here, we already know there's going to be a cesspool of something.
Yep.
mean,
True. Phone lines are open at 360-874-1400. We have other things to talk about, but I am more concerned tonight with giving you all your voice. So we're not normally caller driven, although I've never deterred phone calls except for during the interview with Semi. But if you guys want to call, if you're a supporter, if you don't like the guy, whatever it is, as long as you don't swear, I'm not going to censor you or tell you you're right or wrong. I want you to come in and spill your piece. So 360-874-1400 or 866-738-1400. That's the Black Ring Spirits hotline. What?
Yes.
I'm giving away free advertising tonight.
Thanks, buddy.
Black Ring Spirits. Remember, if you're not drunk enough to vote for anybody other than Turd Ferguson, there's still time. Black Ring Spirits.
Hey. Ooh.
Get drunk and vote for somebody other than Turd Ferguson.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. All right. Trojo, are you I'm throwing you under the bus because we haven't talked about I didn't know you were coming in. Are you following this stuff at all about Semi Bird and the gubernatorial race, or should I just leave you out of it?
You know what? I try to follow still, but I'll be realistic with you. I've stepped away from following a whole lot of politics over the course of the past year or so. I have been seeing some of the stuff about Semi Bird, but as far as just really following along with any type of political stuff, man, I'll be realistic. I could give you my unbiased opinion about what I've heard, but would I be able to throw any facts or anything that I vetted? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be able to.
Well, you're working in the club scene now, and that's not really a hotbed for political conversation.
You'd be surprised.
Apple bottom jeans and the boots with the fur.
You'd be surprised because a lot of the club owners are affected. A lot of what takes place from the political standpoint.
Sure.
Have you seen the tax rates for alcohol?
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen,
100%.
Small business owners are the ones getting hosed the most,
Big
right?
time.
The large businesses like Walmart, Costco, I'm not knocking them, but they have
deep pockets,
deep pockets and deep profits to offset, right? These small mom and dad owned businesses, these small businesses that employ 15, 20 people, which are the backbone of our community. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because there's far more people employed in those than at a Walmart. They're the ones that are getting hit. And that's what should scare people. Now, I'm not saying Republicans have got it all right or the Democrats have it all wrong. That's not what I'm saying. But we need to be a little more concerned about Main Street.
Absolutely.
And not that we ignore Wall Street, but we got to provide a little bit of balance. Because we can't lose those businesses and we can't put all those people out of work.
No, those businesses are the ones that pay taxes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now they're arguing about the definition of the word circle jerk. This show has gone completely.
It is gone.
All right. Outlaw Radio. We're going to come back after this on AM as well on the Mega Talk Radio Network.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's all right.
Don't use the term circle jerk. It's offensive.
A bunch of a-holes.
What kind of feeling?
Outlaw Radio broadcasting live from the Black Ring Spirits studio. Call us on the Black Ring Spirits hotline. I'm wearing my Black Ring Spirits shoes. And in the Black Ring Spirits production room is our Black Ring Spirits producer, Black Ring Spirits Bob. Hello, Bob.
So apparently the chat is hooked on a certain feeling, huh?
Oh, they are definitely hooked on a feeling.
Brought to you by Black Ring Spirits. Anyway, listen. We had people call and hang up on us, by the way. I don't. Was that just your angst over the interview? Like, click. All right.
Every time Kevin says Black Ring Spirits, do a shot.
Here, listen, here's the question, right? So there's a lot of comments in chat about how Dave Reichert supported masking. Okay, during COVID. That's a big running theme in there. So I'm going to share what I think, and then you guys share what you think. And then listeners in the chat, I want you to tell me if I'm wrong or not, because I'm going to be wrong. In the initial, let's say 90 days, after the COVID emergency rolled out mid-March 2020, in the initial 90 days, personally, I hold no one responsible for anything.
I agree with that.
Okay? Not even Jay Inslee, whom I call the human bobblehead, whom I call the human glory hole. That Jay Inslee, even Jay gets a pass from me because nobody knew what we were dealing with. There was no roadmap to this. We knew people were dying. We knew that there were death outbreaks in nursing homes. We didn't have enough information to really even know what to do next. And so the response was lock it down, isolate, put on a mask, close business because we don't know. Now, if Reichert only supported masking during the 90 days, then I don't care. Because I just think there was so much non-information that they erred on the side of caution. Now, after that 90 days, if they still supported it, off with their heads. Out of office. Be gone. Never vote for them again. But listen, Republicans, I want to challenge you before you all get up on your anti-masking, anti-COVID vaccination bandwagon.
No, it's not a bandwagon anymore.
No, it's a cruise ship.
No, it's a circle jerk.
Circle jerk.
It's a
Thank you.
circle jerk.
Thank you.
There it is.
Before you Republicans and conservatives go on that tangent, I will remind you that Jay Inslee had dictator authority in this state longer than any other state in the union.
Was it 900 days?
Something asinine like that.
Not
crazy.
900.
And I will remind you that the only Republican that challenged him in court was Joshua Freed in regards to the religious issue about whether or not you could have church. Where were the rest of you? Where was the Republican leadership in the House and the Senate? Where was JT Wilcox? Where were all these Republicans out now that are like screaming bloody murder about how bad it was with Jay Inslee and his edicts and the masking and the COVID? Where were all of you? Because what I heard was a lot of you bitching and complaining on social media, but it still required Republican leadership in the state House and the state Senate to give that authority to Inslee. And yet you guys still reelected them. Wilcox got reelected because he was on a 2-year term and he still got reelected. No, he's not in office now. So I'm not being a jerk. But let's apply the standard equally. I'm having symbols. It's a giant circle jerk. Yes, it is. But I want to know where were you guys? And I don't mean you guys in the chat, right? Specifically, where were you guys that were all pissed off about COVID and masking and vaccines and all of that? Where were you 3 years ago when your Republican leadership was silent? And no, I don't count it when they're complaining on social media or complaining at rallies. They all seem to back Lauren Culp when Lauren Culp ran. So they're not afraid to make noise. But when it came to COVID, they all got quiet real quick. So I'm not saying these aren't valid questions for Reichert. I just want to know where the sanctimonious hypocrisy comes into play.
Well, that's a different circle jerk.
It is.
So just think of circle jerks like Venn diagrams, and you just look at all the overlapping circles.
Yeah. Robert said Republicans in the state came pretty easy. And I've said this on this show before. I've heard Republicans talk on this show. We've had people call in before and say, well, at some point, I'm doing my best Opie impersonation from Walla Walla. Well, at some point, we're going to have had enough, and Republicans, because we're all armed, we're going to stand up and take our state back. Well, when in the name of God's green earth do you expect that to happen? Was it when they took away your gun rights? No, that didn't happen, even though they banned a whole bunch of gun rights.
They banned a whole lot of guns.
Was it when they were going to introduce into the school system the ability to teach the advanced sex ed stuff? Oh, that didn't happen. Was it when they started stealing elections? Well, that didn't happen. Was it back when Christine Gregoire won again over Dino Rossi when they recounted ballots like 4 times before they finally got the right number of votes to make sure she got reelected and then stopped vote? Wasn't when that happened. I'd like to see the militant Republicans do something. I'm not advocating for violence, but when y'all gonna rise up? When y'all gonna take to the streets? I mean, say what you want to about Democrats, and they're awful stupid.
I don't want to see him take.
I don't want to see. I don't want to see.
I want to see him actually go to the ballot boxes.
Go to the ballot box, but I want to see the same level of angst and anger out of Republicans we see out of Democrats. Democrats get pissed off. They take over I-5. They march on the federal building downtown. They make a scene. They make a stand. I'm not advocating for revolution or violence, but can we see the Republicans care about anything? The only rally I've seen Republicans do that I think did anything was when you all went down to the Capitol for one day. And you had a polite little tea party down there during the COVID stuff and then left and then nothing changed. Please do something.
I mean, you can keep calling for the Republicans to do something, but I mean, well, let me just reference this. Everybody knows that I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I've always sat here and said that, you know what, I vote my conscience. If I feel this person is going to be right for me, if you looked at my ballot, you'd be like, which way? Jesus Christ,
it's like connecting the dots.
If that was ever a person who votes and they would say, he's just an X, you know, he's an X. That would be me. I still say that I call them all, you know, your party base, your party people. But now, with that being said, you know, we've called for Republicans to take actions for many years, and as it has always said, they bark loud, but they don't do much.
Yep. Yeah. And again, I don't want anybody to like use this, you know, after I'm long dead and gone. The great prophet K-Dog said that we should riot. That's not what I'm saying. And Bruce, no, it wasn't Bruce. Sorry. It was, Calkin said, Republicans don't live anywhere near the federal building in Seattle or the Capitol in Olympia. The lefty mob lives down the street. I hate to break it to you, but they've invented these things called cars where, hold on, wait, bear with me. You can get in them and drive and travel to places and be there in almost no time. And if you look at the people that were rioting and protesting, a lot of them didn't live in Seattle. The Occupy campaign that took over the precinct in Seattle.
Capitol Hill.
Yeah, Capitol. What was that encampment called again?
Chop Chaz.
Oh, Chop or Chaz.
During
or
the summer
Chaz.
of 11.
Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
It was mostly peaceful.
Chop and Chaz sounds like
outside of the murders.
like a late 1990s frat boy who got into like hedge fund investing. That's what Chaz sounds like. Look, I just when there's injustice, I hear Republicans make a lot of noise, but I don't see a lot of action. And I want to see more Republicans vote because I think it evens the playing field. And I'm not advocating for Republicans in every seat. I'd like to see a 50-50 split because it'd make both sides come together and work in the middle and find compromise.
Well, the problem with this state is it's tilted so far that if you're center or right of that, I mean, everything you do to push back makes you sound conservative, even if you're not.
Everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
and there's a lot of talk in here about the Bill Gates money trail. I don't know a lot about it. I don't want to comment on it because I really don't know. I've also seen some comments in the chat about Reichert voting Democrat most of the time. Let me ask you guys a question that are not Reichert supporters. All of the Birdites. All the birdies. We're going to give you guys a name. If you guys have a name, let me know in the chat. Who would you rather have? Reichert or Ferguson? Reichert, a moderate Republican who votes Democrat part of the time? Ferguson, a tree humping, take your car away for an electric car, increase taxes.
I was going to say tax happy. Don't forget
impose
tax
a
happy.
state income tax.
Don't forget your natural gas. Get rid
Take
of
away your natural gas. Further restrict your gun rights.
Get rid of your hydro.
Not even a Democrat, but like a socialist Democrat.
Save the salmon.
Ferguson. Well, I'm all about saving the salmon, even though I don't eat fish. Like I don't like fish at all. I love seafood, but not necessarily fish.
I'll save the salmon. I will stop and let them cross 101 when they're crossing the road.
Tracy said, "What's the difference?" And I think it's a fair question. I just firmly believe that Ferguson is the lesser of two evils. I'm sorry, Ferguson is the worst. Sorry. That's going to be on my gravestone.
What did you
Ferguson is the worst of the two evils. Ferguson is bad juju. Because I think Ferguson is worse than Inslee, and I think Inslee is a dipwad. Okay, but I think Ferguson's worse.
Well, and you would be right.
I think Reichert is the same. And listen again, I like Semi. I do. I like Semi. I can't get away from the fact that talking with the guy, we've had him on 3 times. I don't pretend that I know him. Maybe he's putting on a good face for me because he's on the air and all this stuff can be used against him and he's being a politician. Sure, I buy that. I don't think I really know who Semi is. I think of all the politicians I've had on this show, the only ones that I really know as people is Jesse Young and Dan Griffey. Well, I think I know who Travis Couture is, but I've never hung out with,
No MC.
Oh no. But I haven't hung out with Travis and in a non-political, non-videotape sense.
Oh.
Okay. So I'm not knocking anybody else, but the candidates that I have talked to when the cameras weren't rolling and the audio wasn't on, I got a really good feeling for Jesse Young and Dan Griffey. Okay. I'll go to the well for both of them. I don't agree with them politically on everything, but I'll go to the well for both of them because I think they got integrity. So maybe Semi's selling me down the river. Fine. Maybe he is. But I like the guy. I like what I've seen so far. And even with all that in mind, I don't think he can win. I just don't think he can. As I asked him at the end of the interview, what about the money? You don't have the money to wage a battle. And his response was, well, I got strategy. And once we get the nomination, then we'll get the money.
Well, they've got they have the endorsement. You're just talking about when they,
once they earn the Republican nomination. They don't have the Republican nomination. They have the Republican Party endorsement.
If when they get the
what did I forget about Rick?
Win the primary.
I know Rick. Oh, Rick. I didn't. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Rick. Rick is a local level politician, and I don't think any local level politician is going to do what they do at the state level to mislead, to sell themselves to you. Not that I'm saying that's what Semi's doing. I'm saying I know Rick. Rick came down for the relay yesterday.
Yeah, Rick's awesome.
Wore his outlaw gear. Even though he risked being, outed by Paul's Bothero. And K-Dog is a grandmaster of the KKK. That's what I was accused of by them.
Grand Wizard.
Grand Wizard. I don't know the terms. I don't know the handshake.
You got to get the vocabulary right. They didn't teach you the handshake?
Yeah. They thought Culp couldn't win either. Here's the issue with Culp, Tracy. And this may very well be the issue for Semi. I question his ability to be elected by the masses because he is more conservative than Reichert. And in this state, which is blue, we're not purple. We're not on the cusp. We're not on the cusp of purple. We're nowhere near being purple. We are a blue state, whether you like it or not.
It's true.
Can you elect a red candidate? Semi's a red candidate in this state, and I don't think you can. I think you need somebody a little purple to have a shot at the governor's office. I'm not knocking Semi. I'm speaking facts.
When was the last time a Republican government was served in Washington?
84, 86, something like that. Mid 80s.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, and again, this is not an indictment on Semi. If I woke up tomorrow and Semi was governor, I'm not going to cry.
Nope.
I'm going to be okay with that. And if I work up tomorrow and Reichert is governor, I'm not going to cry, and I'm going to be okay with that.
Yep.
Because what I don't want is Turd Ferguson to be governor, because then I will cry.
Me too.
But the fact of the matter is, in this state, you have to pull in moderates and you have to pull in moderate Democrats if you're going to win this state. I don't think Semi can do it. Because I think he's more constitutionalist. He's more conservative. He's more red. And they won't vote for him. And that should scare you. Calkins says Culp got creamed. In the general, he did, which is exactly speaking to what I'm saying. If the Republicans settle on a red candidate, he might win the primary. He might cruise to the general. But you look at what happened in 2020 in that election. Jay Inslee didn't even campaign.
Yep.
It's true.
Yeah, that's correct.
He didn't have to. Listen, Jay Inslee woke up the day after the Republican primary and saw that Lauren Culp had gotten the nomination, and I guarantee you that twit sighed and giggled to himself.
Walked to his coffee machine, got a cup of coffee, and then went and laid back down.
Yeah, and thought. Tracy said, I think Semi's connection with the Black community and the Chinese American community, we were in different times. Tracy, I'm glad you believe that.
They're not, those aren't big enough numbers.
Well, I don't think she's right.
Well, even if she is,
Republicans
those aren't big enough numbers in Washington State.
Republicans said 2 years ago, we were in different times. We were going to have a red wave. We were going to have a red wave.
Even if she was right, here's what I would tell you about that. That would remind me of, years ago in the, what was it, the 80s, Jesse Jackson ran a campaign, and when he ran for president, and he had a great message, underfunded. And even though he received a lot of the Black vote and the Asian vote, and anybody that unfortunately wasn't white or Caucasian or anything, it just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. So Semi may be running a great campaign. Again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I've been following anything. Now, will I start following again? Yeah, because I got to know who's going to be running my state one way or another.
Yeah.
But just listening to what I've listened to tonight, I can tell you that, and based on what you just wrote, Tracy, he can have a great message. He can spill his guts and tell people that, I owned up and I did this and I did that. But if in this state where it's mostly and always have since the 80s have been voted on as a Democrat, it's not going to matter who's going to the polls. It's not going to matter what race. It's not going to matter what color they are. Nothing. It's just not enough. There won't be enough of African American or Asian voters to tilt it in the scale. I can assure you of that.
Right.
So it's just that won't be strong enough.
Well, and listen, I'm there's a conversation going on in the chat about the Culp, and the WSRP filed a lawsuit against King County. Election integrity is at a different level. I have a lot of concerns about election integrity. I really do. I hate state mail-in ballot, the mail-in ballots. I think that's cockamamie. Can we please throw the integrity issue out with Culp? Culp was not going to win that election. I think Republicans need to be realistic. You haven't won the governorship in 30 years. Do you think you're going to win it back by throwing up an ultra-conservative candidate?
Probably won't.
You're not going to. And this whole rhino argument and you're a Republican in name only and you're not conservative enough and blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's great. But you guys got to think about how things lean out with the general public. You're just trying to win an election. And if you put up the most conservative guy, when it comes down to the actual voters in the state of Washington, they're not going to go for it. You have to listen. This is like, I'm going to bring up a dating analogy. Okay. This is like when you're dating a girl.
Well, you got 1 minute to do it.
I know. I'm a pro. I'm a trained professional to try this at home. When you're dating a girl and you got a whole bunch of secrets, you gotta let them out over time. You can't just have like one dinner date where you let everything out all at once. You got to give it out slowly. Republicans are going to have to win back voters to the Republican agenda slowly. So you don't go all hard red. You go purple and slowly, a little less purple, a little less purple, ebb and flow, give and take.
It's like getting bigger and bigger meat.
Yeah. All right. Outlaw Radio. Final half hour of the show will be commercial free after this. It's Outlaw Radio. Mega Talk Radio Network. Outlaw Radio. So Tracy said in chat, and Tracy, this is what I think part of the problem is. No compromise. That's great.
But that's what the other side of the spectrum is doing right now, too.
In a state like Nevada, that's great. In a state like Arizona, that's great because you have a shot. In this state, if you don't compromise, you don't have a shot. And if you run under the no compromise banner and you're not going to go a little purple to win the state back, you are handing the election to Turd Ferguson. If you don't compromise, if you don't pick your battle here and get a little bit of a purple candidate, you are inviting Bob Ferguson to move into the governor's office. You might as well rent him a U-Haul. I get what you want, but you've got to understand this is a marathon, not a sprint. And the marathon starts with getting somebody not radically left into the state office. So then voters can see, oh, we're on Facebook only, right, Phil?
For another 30 seconds.
Okay. Holy fuck, this is what it looks like? This is what it looks like to be a little conservative, to not be far left. We can work with this. But if we don't meet that middle ground, Democrats will always sell, hey, when you bring in the Republicans, you guys are all going to be screwed. Every last one of you. Hold on. We're going to be back. Paul's made it to the St. Paul Estates. More of your comments in chat. Phone lines are open at 360-874-1400 Outlaw Radio. Outlaw Radio. Corey just said in chat what I've been saying all along, and Corey should be a radio host. He said it much better than I did. You have to go purple before we can go red. And I just agree.
True.
And again, I personally, I'm okay if I wake up and Semi Bird's governor. I'm okay if I wake up and Dave Reichert is governor. Because it means we didn't go down the route of Bob Ferguson, which just scares the bejeebies out of me, man. Paul joins us from the palatial St. Paul Estates farmyard and taxidermy shop. Hello, Paul.
Hey, brother. Nice to be back. So I had an interesting conversation with my wife, who was apparently in the chat room while we were interviewing Semi.
Hi, Katie. Is she home?
No. She's in Bellingham. Or almost in Bellingham anyway. as she works up there tomorrow. Anyway, you know, interesting perspective. And I think this is something, she brought something up to my attention that I wanted to, what we talk about on this show, right, Kevin, when you and I or Tom are sitting there and Lori are sitting there interviewing.
And Jeremy once every 4 years. Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's only been a year and a half. You get to.
Well, we're interviewing this candidate, right? And, you know, like we're trying to tell people, hey, man, you got to work together. You got to come be a little bit more centric. And like you said, by the way, wonderful line. You got to go purple before you can go red. We should trademark that because that's a badass comment.
Yeah, but Corey said it first. I don't want to take money out of his mouth.
For sure. I'm there with you. Well, anyway, point is that we as a show, Jeremy included, we really represent 95% of Washingtonians, right? Our mentalities about this going, hey, I want somebody closer to the middle. I don't care what color you think they are, red, purple, pink, blue, whatever, right? I want somebody whose ideas make sense. I want somebody whose ideas make sense and work for me. And this isn't about Semi or Reichert. I'm just making the point that we have a very centrist personas. And we really do represent a lot of voters in Washington State, which is why we gave him the opportunity to say his piece.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And by the way, we have feelers out trying to get Reichert to come on the show. So we have people that support this show that have connections that are trying to get Reichert to come on. And if Reichert comes on, we're going to give him the exact same interview we just gave Semi. And if Bob Ferguson wanted to come on the show, he won't because he's chicken. But if he came on the show, we'd give him the exact same interview. It's what we've done religiously on this show. Do I?
I'm trying to figure out how we could ask Bob questions that I don't think Bob would be able to. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I'm
neither do we.
Just a sentence.
Brought to you by President Biden.
So, yeah,
just get a sentence out, Tom.
That's kind of where I'm at right now because this
Go ahead,
idea of trying to give an interview to Bob Ferguson that wouldn't come across as like a hatchet job. My brain is like it's skipping gears.
No,
trying
listen.
to wrap itself.
We
around
interviewed
that.
Emily Randall on here, and she didn't want to be here. And she only gave us a half an hour.
I was
when
here.
we give every other candidate the full hour.
I was here.
Yeah, she only gave us a half an hour, and our interview with her was not a hatchet job. I could interview. I've interviewed Jay Inslee. Hold on, I've interviewed Jay Inslee in this studio.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could do it.
But when you interviewed Jay Inslee in this studio, he didn't have 12 years of train wreck policy behind him. Now he does.
Yeah, I would love to interview Bob Ferguson. Because I would ask him questions like, Bob, I'm sorry, Mr. Ferguson. Although I did call Semi buddy a couple times tonight. And every time I did it, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I'm a professional, for Christ's sakes. But I would ask him, look, Mr. Ferguson.
Buddy.
Explain to me why you supported overturning the $30 car tab. I mean, I know you fought for it in court because you had to as the attorney general, but your party was in favor of it. Can you explain that to me? Can you explain to me all the litigation? Can you explain to me about electric cars? Can you explain to me how some people have accused your office of being used for political gain, to target your political enemies? Is that true? And if not, how do you respond? I could ask him a lot of great questions. Here's the difference. And here's why I would be okay with Semi being in the governor's office and not Ferguson. Because Semi came on here for an hour and a half and answered all of our questions.
Right.
And Semi didn't tell me before he came on the air, by the way, I don't want to talk about these things. Bob Ferguson won't answer the questions, which is why he won't come on a show like this, because we're not emboldened to him. We'll ask whatever questions we damn well want to, and Bob won't do that because there's a level of absolving power.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Reichert won't do the debate with Semi. Because you have to give up a little bit of power in order to do that. And Reichert right now feels like he's in the catbird seat. And he's in total control. He's going to get the nomination. Okay. But that's why he won't, because The people that have power, whether that be Bob Ferguson feeling like the seat is going to be dictated to him by Inslee, or whether you're Reichert and you feel like this is your race and you got all that power. People in power got to give up a little bit of power if they really want to be accountable. And Reichert has refused to interview or to debate Semi. Now, if I'm Reichert, I'm not going to either.
Yeah, why should?
Like from a strategic standpoint, like why would you?
Yeah, I use it.
But if you really want to be transparent and you really want to show you're a leader for the people, and you really want to show you want to do things differently, Dave, man, that's a question I'd ask Dave Reichert. Why won't you debate Semi? Why? I mean, if you're really the best candidate, why wouldn't you? Because he has everything to lose. He won't say that publicly, but it's the God's honest truth. You have everything to lose and nothing to gain by debating Semi. And he has everything to lose and nothing to gain by coming on the show. Same thing with Bob Ferguson. Nothing to gain by coming on here. And that's why they won't. Now, I hope Reichert does. I really do. And I'll give him a respectful interview. I respect the guy. His service in law enforcement all by itself garners my respect. But I would still ask the tough questions. Right, Paul? Why do you mute yourself, Paul? Don't mute yourself. We want to hear what you have to say.
Because I have a farm and animals, and I don't want anything to make noise and to interrupt your conversation. Because then what happens is Phil mutes me and forgets to unmute me. which listen, I'll do respect. It's kind of understandable. So, but listen, you're everything you're saying is 100% correct, and I don't disagree with any of it. And I hope that our regular listeners understand that what we just did, that interview that we just had with Semi, that's us, right?
Yep. Yeah.
That's who we are. And I'm not saying like you do, like you don't have any respect for Jason Rance, right? I have respect for what he's accomplished. I don't have respect for how he's made a name for himself. I see him as not that far removed from Jim Acosta, right? If you call yourself a reporter and when get a chance to ask the president a question, your question is, Mr. President, are you a racist? Like what the are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
Like you're not doing your community or your people any favor. And I'm sure that I got a couple of, less than encouraging comments personally sent to me through text and Facebook. Semi's a liar and this and that and the other and yada, yada, yada. People need to understand that all of those comments are an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
They're an opinion, right? And if we're going to go out there, like I said before, and we're going to support Donald Trump, then we got no business making those accusations at Semi Bird. Right. And like you said, if you're going to be the party of law and order, then it's innocent until proven guilty. We should not be dragging a man through the mud because of how we feel about him, because maybe he didn't answer a question the way we thought he should have. Right. His comment, I felt, was the perfect example where he said, I had to step into the shoes. I had to fill the role of a lieutenant colonel. There was several comments made in that chat room about how he was lying. Now he's calling himself a lieutenant colonel. People, that is how the Army works. If you've got an open slot and you need somebody to fill it temporarily, you do it. I've done it. My son's done it. Plenty of people I know have done it. It doesn't mean you are pretending to be something you're not. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
But that was the prevalent attitude that was in the chat. And so, and those things were said with anger and malice towards him. And it just reiterated to me how little people know and how much they extrapolate from what little they know. And it is what it is, man. It's life. People do it all the time now. They were used to Facebook, right? And instant answers and instant gratification. And when it doesn't meet our standards, then this or that is true. I'm going to give this one piece of advice to everybody that's listening. And this comes from, somebody who went to law school, has been self-employed for 30 years, did 10 years in the U.S. Army. Folks, if you speak in absolutes, you may not believe it, but you lose credibility. People may not even realize that you're losing credibility, but believe me, if you speak in absolutes, you will lose credibility. It's why I constantly give Kevin grief every time he tries to tell us how the Mariners are going to do. When you speak in absolutes, you cannot be taken seriously, and people will do it very subconsciously. They may not even notice, but I can tell you that I won't take you seriously if you speak in absolutes.
I hope you die in a fire for bringing my Mariner predictions, Phil.
I just want to ask Paul, do you mean that absolutely?
Do I mean what? Absolutely.
Your previous statement about never mind.
He's being funny. Listen, I was
my job is to bring brevity.
Yeah, brevity. I thought brevity meant short.
Stop it.
Isn't that a short? Isn't that a short coffee?
I don't know. Trojo, tell us. You're the expert. All right.
I said stop it before you even came this way with that.
By the way, when we're on Facebook only, I am going to make my inappropriate joke of the day because Trojo's here to hear it. And I've said the joke a couple of times, but now that Trojo's here to hear it, it'll be even better.
It'll be about.
I've got the ABC polls from 538. I'm sorry, these are not ABC polls. This is from 538 Research, which I think is pretty accurate in their polling, by the way. And so I'm going to read this to you. So these were the May 15 and 16 polls for governor of the state of Washington. Ferguson, 35%, Reichert, 28%, Byrd, 11%, Mullet, 4%. That's from Public Policy Polling. The May 13 to 16 poll by Elway Research. Ferguson, 22%, Reichert, 20%, Mullet, 6%, Byrd, 5%. And then another one, Public Policy Polling from May 15 to 16, in just a two-horse race, Ferguson, Reichert, Ferguson 48, Reichert 42. Now, let me put this in different terms, though. If you take the public policy polling with all four candidates, Ferguson, Reichert, Byrd, Mullet, Ferguson has 35, and the conservative candidates combined is 43. If you take the Elway Research one, Ferguson has 22. The conservative candidates have 31. Now, that's assuming that Mullet and Byrd's people all go to Reichert or vice versa. But that should tell conservatives, based on those polls, they got a shot.
But there's still work to do.
But there's work to do, and God bless it, you people better come together. You guys better figure out a way to hold hands and sing Kumbaya and dance around the campfire together and find ways to love each other. Because, to use our new nickname, if this becomes a circle jerk, then Ferguson's going to be your guy. And I shudder to think what happens in 4 years if Ferguson's your governor.
I can
Paul,
tell you this.
I know your mic
Well,
is on.
it is on. I wanted to point out that we asked Byrd very directly, right? Several people made the comments that according to him, he was going to, and I quote, burn the party down. He may have said that. He may have said it in a moment of anger, being pissed. Maybe he was trying to make a point. What I'm going to say is, I don't know if he said that. He very well may have. But when asked directly about his support, you guys out there would know if he signed the pledge to support the winner of the primary, and whether or not what he said is true, that Dave Reichert did not. Now, if that's the case, that's also saying something. Because that to me is no different than Reichert telling his supporters, if it's true, if Byrd wins, don't support him. Well, that's the same way as just throwing up your hands and surrendering.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because that guarantees a Republican loss. And it bothers me to think that Republicans in the state of Washington might be okay with that loss to Bob Ferguson because their guy didn't get the nomination. That is a painful thing to accept. And but I think some of our regular listeners, listen, I know that Robert Parker, for example, we know how he feels about Semi Byrd. He's been very open and very clear. I think there's no illusions, right? Brandy Cruz, another one, no illusions, right? But let me ask you this, Kevin, do you think, let's use Robert Parker and Brandy Cruz, do you think either of them votes for Semi Byrd if by some miracle he wins the primary and comes out as the Republican candidate?
Here's what I worry about, and let's use Brandy specifically. Okay.
Okay.
Here's what I worry about.
We're not speaking for you, Brandy. We're just simply
hypothesizing. Yeah.
Hypothesizing.
I think Brandy would vote for Semi. But the question is, Brandy's not going to get anybody else to vote for Semi. You know what I mean? Brandy's going to vote for Semi in kind of an awkward, I don't really want to, but it's better than the alternative, I think. But I don't think Brandy's going to be excited about it. I don't think she's going to be campaigning for it. She's going to be pushing for it. I don't think, you know what I mean? If Dave Reichert was the guy, I think Brandy would be much more willing to talk about it. You know, encourage her listeners to get involved, all of that. But I think that the Semi thing, and listen, one thing that Semi needs to quit doing is going after people.
Yes.
Semi going after Brandy, Semi supporters going after Brandy. Listen, she is paid to give an opinion. That's her job and her role. You have to accept that she's going to do that. And I'm not accusing you guys of this, but I'm going to tell you what it looks like optically. It looks like people are bullying a girl. Now, I think Brandy is strong. She can stand up for herself. She's competent. I don't think that's your guys' intention. But to the average person that's watching this from afar, oh, we're just going to pick on Brandy because she's a girl and you guys are just going to bully her. This is the old boys club network all over again. Let's just pick on the girl.
Do you really see that?
Hold on. I'm smart enough to look at things in two angles, right?
Right.
My angle is I don't really think that's what they're trying to do. I think they hate her because she doesn't back their candidate. But I think the average dipwad lemming out there that does not pay attention to politics 24 hours a day, that does not live in political circles, that doesn't pay attention to all this crap, sees that and hears about that, and here's a candidate specifically go after Brandy. This is just a man bullying a woman. That's all this is. And it doesn't help. It doesn't help the optics. And
100%, Kevin.
Semi needs to quit
100%.
doing it. Semi needs to quit doing it.
Okay. I know. I think Brandy's got a little more clout than that. So
I think Brandy has. Do you know how many people I ask when we've had Brandy on the show, and I've said them, I'm so excited we got Brandy on the show. Who's that? Again, these are normal people, right? People that don't care about politics 24 hours. These are the Trojos, right? And no, I'm not knocking you. I'm saying
he's not knocking. He's right in that aspect. I mean, when I was on the show all the time, I followed politics all the time. Now that I've walked away from the show, it's the first thing I said here. Hey, look.
Oh, that proves it's short attention span.
You know, I haven't been following a whole lot of anything. But
and we asked him about the stolen ballot claims. He didn't know about it. Why? Because he doesn't live in it. He's not. It's not his universe right now. You know. And I think, again, I insult voters all the time, and I'll keep doing it because it's true. 20% of people on the left pay attention, 20% of the right pay attention, and the other 60% have other things they're worrying about.
80%, brother. 80%.
No, I said 20% on the left and 20% on the right actually pay attention.
But then you still have 80% on the left and 80% on the right.
Oh, I meant like the total. Okay, all right. Most people.
Can you say that one more time? No. Just say, okay, Paul, you were right. Say that one time.
Most people are worried about how am I going to feed my family? How am I going to pay my bills? And they care about hot button topics, but they don't care enough to get down to the nitty gritty about all the stuff behind the candidates.
You're right, Kevin. There's a lot of single issue voters out there. How many people, if Semi Bird comes out of this? Out of the primary, how many people will not vote for him because they heard he committed stolen valor? Right?
Well,
Little things that people say stick in other people's minds, right?
Well, I'm hoping that if it were a Bird Ferguson ticket, that people remember that Ferguson's weaponized his office.
Bruce said just like up for you. What a shallow comment. Bruce, can you expand what you think the shallow comment was? If it was about us or Parker's comment. Okay. Yeah, just to put context so that we know what you were talking about. Go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I that kind of lost me for a second. I didn't have that all in context, but I will say this for the people that were listening tonight: spirited debates in the chat room, right? Spirited debates. But here's what I would ask each of you to do whenever you have time. Go back listen to the show again, at least while we had Mr. Bird on, and read the comments as you're listening to the conversation. And I think each of you will go, okay, yeah, we were pretty harsh on each other, right? And I mean, somebody somewhere has to start having these conversations about bringing people together. It's one thing if you're debating an issue, you know, trans athletes in high school, right? It's one thing to let your emotions get carried away with that stuff. Absolutely, dude, I get it. You know, but when we're talking about, and again, several people in the chat made the comments like, I didn't understand his answer, right? When he was talking about the letter of reprimand, right? Like, I didn't understand what he was saying. Fair, totally fair that you didn't understand what he was saying. But for those of us that did, we understood it, right? And I understood why he was being reprimanded. You know, I will give a great example. So everybody knows Hunter, my son. You all know he's active duty and serving. He had a situation where they knew, his commanders and his first sergeant knew that he grew up around horses, and there was an opening in the caisson unit. That's the U.S. military parade units with, you know, 1800s caisson units where they've got the horses all decked out and they carry the cannons. And then what the cannons were called, they had the ammunition and the cannonballs in them. Those were called the caissons. And in fact, it's in the Marine Corps song, right? The caissons. And what would happen was those horses would be used to carry ammunition and cannons to the front line, and then the caissons would double as stretcher bearers, bringing the dead and wounded back to the hospital. Okay, so they still use them today in parades and drill and ceremony and stuff like that. So my son's first sergeant and captain, without talking to my son, filled out a packet for him to get transferred to that unit because of his reaction to the COVID vaccines, and they know he wanted to stay. Well, they did that all on their own. So this stuff happens, and that got turned down because he didn't request it and he didn't fill it out. Make sense? So these things happen all the time in the military, all the time. And it also happens all the time when you'll get a commanding officer that will pull you aside and say, hey, you did X, Y, or Z. Don't do that again. Cool? Cool. Right? You know, Trojo's there. Trojo, I believe you were military police, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, and Kevin, like, so there's enough of us here in studio that we can have a conversation about this and we can put it all in context and understand it. Now, if you still want to believe that Semi was a liar because maybe he didn't answer a question in a way you felt was necessary, hey, look, that's fair too. That's fair too. All I'm saying is that he answered the questions in a way that made sense. And I'm going to throw one more thing out there, okay? Because the issue of the scuba diving tag came up. Now, I served right in Port Orchard in my National Guard unit, okay? Now, we actually had a huge disadvantage in my National Guard unit, and that is we have a huge naval installation 30 minutes away, right? So what happened is we got so many sailors who wanted to get their 20-year pins. They got like 16 years in or 18 years, and they need 2 or 3 more years, okay? And then they slide in over to the National Guard unit, all right? Well, guess what? They all came decorated. And you know what? We had guys in tanks that had their Submariner patch on them, man, who had their scuba patch on them. This was common, everyday stuff that we saw all the time. So, you know, for those that are thinking, oh, it's no way he was a Green Beret, how did he get that patch? Well, because he went to the school, and it carries over from branch to branch. You could have a scuba diving emblem on or patch on your uniform, on your BDUs in the Air Force if you'd previously served in the Marine Corps or the Navy and you had taken that school. It's a fact, people. It is a fact.
That is 100% correct.
So now again, I'm just saying because of that fact only, saying that just because he had that patch on meant he was committing stolen valor. No, there's a perfectly rational explanation for it. Perfectly 100% rational. And he did serve in the Marine Corps before he transitioned to the Army. Not saying he ain't lying, but I'm saying what he's saying makes perfect sense if you know how it works.
Well, and he had an honorable discharge. I mean, again,
that, you know what, Kevin, you're right, and that's almost where the conversation should end, right?
I tend to think so. Listen, in my day job, I don't try to get into this a lot, but
No, you don't. But you carry weight. So tell everybody where you work in the day.
This is context. So I work for the VA, and what my area of the VA is, we process claims for veterans who were injured or incurred some type of an injury or disability in service. When they're discharged, when a vet is discharged, it will either say honorable or other than honorable.
Or dishonorable.
If it is honorable, that's good stuff. Okay. They're entitled to benefits. They are entitled to health care, whatever. Okay.
And then you have discharge codes on top of that. RE 1, 2, 3, 4, etc.
Yeah. Although we don't worry about that on my end. If you're honorable, then you're honorable. That's it for your benefits, right?
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
If you are other than honorable or dishonorable, that is considered in most cases a bar. That means you effed up. That means you don't get benefits. That means you don't get health care. Now, there are exceptions to that and compensate. I'm not going to get into all that for what we do. There are things that can mitigate that. But the fact is that is not taken lightly. But it's important to remember that the military did not deem what he did to be something he should have been kicked out of service for.
Right.
And so while we're over here talking about how bad of a person he is and all the stuff that he did or didn't do or all the accusations that are out there, I will remind you that what Tara Simmons did would have gotten her kicked out of the military. What Semi Bird was accused of or did or admitted to or whatever did not. And he honorably served and then was honorably released from his contract. So I'm not saying not to believe his stuff. I'm just saying let's keep this in context.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because every day I see not every day, because it's not as common as you think.
And let me make this clear.
Multiple times a week, I will see service records of a service member who was not honorably released from their service.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep that in mind, Paul.
And I'm sure that there are people sitting there going, why are you guys defending Bird? It's not about defending him. This is about keeping things very real and very honest.
It's about perspective. Yeah.
It's all, well, and this is going to sound like I'm chastising, and I guess maybe I am. For those of you that are sitting out there wanting to just beat a guy down, newsflash, this is about an election, and elections are about issues.
Mm-hmm.
You're making it about personal stuff that can neither be confirmed or denied or proven or anything else. You're losing sight of what our election and our leadership process is all about. You are losing sight of it. Absolutely. And I will just say, I think all of this clashing about him is one thing only, and is that they do not believe that Bird can win. They want him to drop out now, so they're doing everything they can to besmirch him before
if you're on AM, have a great night. We'll see you guys Wednesday. If you're on Facebook, we'll go a little bit long with you. Not very long, but just a few minutes long with you. It's Outlaw Radio Network. After Dark next on the Mega Talk Radio Network. All right, Outlaw Radio. After Dark is next. Paul, you and I have done radio in this format for 15 years and overall for like 25.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever done a show where we discussed one topic for the entire show. Tell that dog to settle down. Get him off your leg. Jesus. Paul's getting excited.
You gotta sound like he's
No, I have a bitch in heat.
So you've been doing radio since Christ filled in for a sergeant?
Yeah. I don't get the reference.
Because Christ was a corporal. It's the usual line. But he could fill in for a sergeant, right? Because one rank could fill in for an...
Okay.
He was referencing the conversation earlier.
It was really subtle.
It's okay, Phil. I got it.
You have the feeling everyone's laughing at me.
Anyway.
No.
Okay, so listen. just is there anything in 2 minutes or less, Paul, that anything else that's on your mind tonight you want to bring up really quick? And if you don't want to get into it and save it for Wednesday, we can.
And we will get into it Wednesday because we'll see how it plays out. But the fact that effectively the president of France, Macron, whatever the hell his name is, it's French, basically didn't like the election results that occurred, and so he disbanded what amounts to their Congress, their parliament. He disbanded them. I don't like how this went. You guys are fired.
Yeah, but there's a function for that in their government, and all it does is reinforce an election of all new representatives.
Yes.
So and it's a big risk in his situation, just because of the multi-party system in France.
Yes.
Or most of Europe. Yep. So
it just struck me, right, Tom? It struck me because I keep hearing all of these people on the left go, Donald Trump is a danger to our democracy, and I'm like, yeah, well, in France they'll just tell you all to go home. I didn't like the election results, right? Y'all are fired. Perspective.
Yep. Well, that's because Europe is starting to push to that. The pendulum's swinging the other way, and
it's swinging to the right.
Yeah, the United States will follow suit. It'll be different, but it'll happen.
Well, I mean, Donald Trump comes out and wins the election. It will be a scary 3 months while we wait to find out what President Biden and his Democratic cronies are going to do. Because I'd be willing to bet that they would try to pull something. What? I don't know.
Well, that pendulum shift may not happen this election cycle. Who knows?
That's true. It may not. I mean,
hell,
but
we could end up with a libertarian president.
God bless it, man. Libertarian. It's just insane.
Tom, I believe you. I believe you, Tom.
I said we could.
Remember, by the way, this is the name of this segment from now on will be Circle Jerk After Dark, sponsored by Black Ring Spirits.
Oh no! Well, I'm there. I'm voting for somebody other than Democrat.
Kevin Nelson came up with that.
Oh,
Kevin is a big fan of the show. All right, the libertarian president. Are you high?
Not currently.
Okay. Trojo, I have a question for you.
I got an answer for you.
The 19th is
it's after the 18th.
The 19th is Juneteenth,
and it's before the 20th.
Yeah, June 19th is Juneteenth. I'm not going to be here for that show. That's the Saturday I'm taking off because I'm singing at church the following Sunday. So I won't be here for Juneteenth. I know. That's the Wednesday I miss. Trojo, I think you should be in studio for that show.
And why podcast should I be in studio?
Well, because it's Juneteenth. I'm sure that there'll be topics about Juneteenth and stuff that'll come up. I think it would be very advantageous to have your input in your insight as an African American man. A short one at that, but still.
Kevin, that's encouraging.
I would really love to say that I would be here, but here's the reality. I'll probably be getting married on that day. So, Huh?
Yeah, hold on. I gotta ask about this because you posted online you were getting married, and then you posted about how she was this, that, and the other, and now suddenly you're getting married again. You need to fill in some information there because it looks you.
Well, here's the thing, and you know what? Yes, I did post some stuff about I posted stuff about her past, and
dirty pool.
You
posted that she was X, Y, and Z, and we'll leave it at that.
Right. I think and her and I've had to have talked about this, had a conversation about it, but here's the one thing that I also just went back and I posted about that I in my vast big ego and my pride would not allow me to see her perspective of what I was doing, because I had to go back and I had to go take a look at myself what I was doing, what she was uncomfortable with, and instead of me, acknowledging what she was uncomfortable with, I basically just told her, get over it. No, basically, we're off the air now. I told her to get the fuck over it and move on.
Trojo, were you accountable?
You know what?
You were accountable?
It took a little while for me to get there, and it took some doing, because for those of y'all who know me, know that I can be one stubborn. Kevin, you're gonna like this. I could be a stubborn little man.
I've never been more happy to hear somebody say something.
But
since Joe Biden said pancake.
But the reality is what the reality is. After she really is a good woman, and hopefully one day, hopefully everybody get to meet her. We are working through the problems that we had in the beginning, and the woman, she really does make me happy. So.
Well, that's good, because at your age, you ain't gonna get many more chances, brother. You got to reach out and just hold on like a dog on the leg, man.
Well,
don't let go.
I will say this though, for those interested in relationships, we're gonna leave
Kevin, take notes. Kevin, take notes. Pen and paper, Kevin.
This is my relationship. It's a reconnect. Her and I dated 20 years ago. And 20 years ago,
did it end badly? 20 years ago,
it didn't end bad, but 20 years ago, I just wasn't ready for any type of commitment. Now things have changed. I've went through a couple of relationships since, a couple of relationships. Two unfortunately, possible marriages. One that for damn sure that I won't mention any names or anything like that, but one I would just say that I'll be living with for at least 18 years. Anyway, but no, in all honesty, her name is Bonnie, and I couldn't be happier. She had a past. I have a past, and together we are bringing it all together. And
that's good.
So June 19th, I could possibly be getting married.
Okay.
She still lives in.
It would seem that you should have decided that by now.
Huh?
You should have decided that by now.
Yeah, but
that's 2 weeks away.
Oh well,
week and a half.
Well, I mean, it's not a matter of whether we getting married or not. She's coming down here for a vacation. For a vacation that week.
Huh?
Be here on she'll be here. She still lives in Oregon. And for everybody that's been following me, I've been going back and forth to Oregon over the course of the past year. So
I just thought you were avoiding jail time or some shit.
Oh wow. No.
Well, listen, I'm happy for you.
Phil,
I can't be happier.
So to bring this to a close, so Trojo, we have video. You can come in during your honeymoon and join us.
By video. Yeah. Wait, I want to officiate the wedding. Can I officiate the wedding? I am a licensed legal.
You do not want me in here for
I am a legal officiant. Can I do the wedding?
I know you are, Kevin, but so is my brother.
That's true. Is the groom on top of your cake going to have to be on a step stool?
Is that because he didn't know his real stool?
That's your
Sorry.
Okay, that was good, Phil. I like that.
Yeah, that was good.
All right.
Just ask Paul about his step grandfather clock that was dinging.
True. Dennis is back there working on something. Dennis, do you have any parting shots? I guess not.
No, we're good.
Okay, Phil, parting shots.
Ooh, I found one, although I got to credit Dennis for this one because I stole it off his Facebook. Remember, tomorrow is not promised. Call your siblings and tell them they're ugly and adopted. Thank you, Dennis, for posting that.
All right. Lori, do you have any parting shots? Yes, I'd like you to make sure that you read about the candidates and get to know what you're voting for and get active because I'm Lori and I said so. Thank you, Lori. We appreciate that. Lori, parting shots. Wow.
Wow. Kevin, your voice is so high. Mine's not that high.
Yeah,
You can't see my hands on the table. I was squeezing really hard.
And what's funny is the Outlaw Radio Network symbol is right in front of him.
Right in front of me, so you can't see what I'm doing right now. Go ahead.
Anyways, no, I was actually going to talk about Doc Blackwell. He's got his briskets and brews coming up. Get
When
your
is that?
tickets. You would ask me that. June 29th?
29 or 26, I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember because I have some doctors or dental appointments.
Is it on a
right
weekend
around-
or during the week?
It's weekend.
So it wouldn't be the 26th.
Probably the 22nd because the 23rd is a Sunday and I'm singing at church.
No, I think it's the weekend after. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
on the
it's on my
29th.
other
Okay, hold on.
calendar.
We're figuring it out. Okay.
Briskets and brews, and then we have other events coming up, and KDDA, and then we also have Wheeling Days coming up. So summer's here, peeps. Enjoy.
Enjoy. Thank you. Thank you.
Whaling Days.
29th.
And don't forget to research your candidates and read about the issues and get informed.
And drink whiskey.
Drink lots of whiskey.
From Black Green Spirits.
All right. What's that, Dennis?
Smoke weed.
Smoke weed, Dennis says.
Cooperate for kids.
Trojo, do you have any parting shots? It's been a while.
Only parting shots I have is since I haven't been here is just to inform the viewers that the champ is here tonight.
Champ? What champ are you
Well,
talking about?
let me explain.
Mhm.
I am a two-time champ right now. You know, I won the Pick 5 championship this year. And I also won the WrestleMania championship this year. So you are literally sitting here with championship royalty in the studio tonight.
Okay. All right.
That's all.
Thanks for that. Tom, parting shots?
Yes. So Black Ring Spirits has been nominated for Best in the Pacific Northwest again.
Praise Jesus, as you should be.
Oh, thank you. So last year we won a silver medal in that. It's a People's Choice Award, so I need your support. I would love to bring home the gold medal this year. So starting tomorrow, you can vote for Black Ring Spirits on the Best in the PNW website through the Seattle Times. You go to Eat and Drink. And then under Eat and Drink, you find distilleries, and Black Ring Spirits will be there.
And you'll share links and everything?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Soon. They're not active yet.
He's
So
already
as soon
shared
as
the
they're
links on Facebook. I've seen it.
Well, no, I've shared what I could, but the actual voting links don't go active till midnight. So I'll put those up when I get home before I go to bed, more than likely.
Just remember, vote for the Black Ring Spirits of your choice. Just vote.
Yeah.
All right. Paul, do you have any parting shots?
So I saw an interesting comment on social media, and it pointed out that as basically it said as the Democratic Party, we've essentially what it was saying was pointing at Trump and saying, you know, what do you expect from a party who's willing to back a convicted felon? And when was the last time you saw the Democrats backing a convicted felon? And I mean, George Floyd comes to mind. But I come on, nobody caught that?
No, and I don't think it's
Nobody?
funny or relevant, but go ahead, Paul.
No. I mean, if you brought up Tara, yeah, but no, not George Floyd.
What?
The Democrat up north?
Yeah, they backed Tara Simmons.
You know,
That's
the one convicted of actually stealing money as opposed to whatever they got Trump on.
You're right. I don't think anybody is sure about what they got Trump on. But anyway, no, that's all. That's all. Good interview tonight.
Good show. Thanks, Paul. I love you. Parting shots for me again. I want to give mad props out to the Relay for Life of Tacoma. Had a great time yesterday. A lot of money raised. We were 4th or 5th. Team Outlaw was 4th or 5th in the fundraising. So again, I just want to give props out to all the peeps that support the show and help support the cause. A big shout out to Andy, Boss Baby, to Nicole, her sister, to Ava, and to Lori, and to everybody else at the Relay. What? Oh, I'm sorry, Julia. Sorry, I meant Julia. I don't know why I said Ava. Julia. Well, because her last name is kind of like Ava. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So anyway, just thanks to all of them for welcoming us and inviting us to be a part of it, and the lip sync contest was phenomenal. That's all I have to say. I fell in love. Anyway, so there's that. The last thing I want to share is my favorite new joke, and this is actually about Trojo. So did you know that Trojo weighs about 180 pounds or 185 pounds when Paul finishes?
Oh, no.
Stand back here.
Oh, no.
That would have been funny if I hadn't heard that joke said the other day. I'm killing your thunder with the roast of TB12.
Yeah, well, that's why I got it. But it's just much funny when I say it about you.
You know, when what's his name said that about The Rock finishing with Kevin Hart. That probably would have been funny.
I'm just saying. It was
come up with
funnier
come on,
coming
Kevin.
from you.
You're funnier than that. You
I got it.
original content.
I'm just
Original
going to
content.
keep using it. That's all.
Original content.
All right, that's going to wrap up the show. Thanks again to Semi Bird and his peeps for getting this thing together. Thanks again to him for sticking around longer. Thanks to all of you in the chat. Remember, if you like the show, be a friend, tell a friend, share this all over the place, all over your social media. Get it out to your friends and family. Let everybody else hear about it. If you did not like the show, pretend that this never happened.
There you go.
We were never here. You're listening to KBRO. All right. That will wrap up the Outlaw Radio Network for tonight. We'll see you guys Wednesday at 7 p.m. On behalf of Dennis, Phil, Lori, Tom, myself, Paul, and Trojo, who's only here when he feels like it. Good night. We love you. See you.
Good night. Tschüss, bis später.